Hey everybody. Good morning to the regular meeting of Tuesday, November 15th. All this meeting's in order. And staff, is there any additions to the agenda? I'll turn on my mic.
Yes, Chairman. We do have an addendum that will be read into a closed session items.
Okay. Will someone please read it into closed session?
Yes, Chairman and members of the board. There are 7 items for closed session this morning. Conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The county negotiators are Adrian Caleb and Ken Caves, and the employee organization are all units. There's a public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The title of the position is County Administrative Officer. There are 2 existing litigations that will be discussed pursuant to Section 54956.9, subsection D1 of the Government Code. That's Schmidt Construction Company versus County of Madera and Madera Oversight Coalition versus the County of Madera. There is 1 anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D2. There is some significant exposure to litigation, and also 1 anticipated litigation under the same Government Code section, but subsection D4, and that will be to decide 1 case of whether to initiate litigation. The last item is in public employee discipline dismissal release pursuant to Government Code section 54957.
Okay, now we still need to read the one into the agenda, correct?
No, Chairman, that was actually added under the Brown Act 72 hours prior to the board meeting.
Okay.
It was just, so there's no need.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Let's go to closed session. Okay, who are we missing? Dave. Just give me a slip. Just slip one up. Good guy. Yeah, Dwayne Furman. Yeah, this last weekend.
He did? When?
Last weekend. Bottom left. Bottom left. Well, Tuesday, you're not going to be in the paper. Yeah, so you guys say what you want. I already told, I know Brett can say something. You saw that, right, Dave?
What's that?
Oh, he's going to. Good morning. Oh, where's Regina? There's Regina. Good morning to the regular board meeting. Today, what is today? Today is the, 15th, 14th, something like that? I don't even remember. Today is the 15th. How about that? Time flies when you're having fun. So welcome, everybody. Regina, anything from closed session?
There are no reportable actions, but we will put on the record that Supervisor Rogers arrived at 8:45 a.m.
Okay. We docked him.
Due to traffic on 99.
Yeah, right. I've heard that one. I've heard that one before. Okay.
Okay, you were coming from Chowchilla. Was there any traffic this morning?
Alarm clock? Sorry. Furman? Okay. Could we please have the invocation and everybody stand, and then Rick, would you do the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Morning. Thank you.
Morning.
Father, we come this morning to your presence, and we thank you, Lord, that you're watching over our nation, watching over our county and our city. We thank you, Father, today for the direction that you give our Board of Supervisors and those who make the decisions for our county. Lord, that we bring blessing and just touch our communities, Lord, with the best that we can give. We thank you now, Father, in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Before we go to the flag salute again, anybody have anything to say? We have 8 veterans passed away in the last 2 weeks, and we have a very important member of our community that passed away that we just found out, Dwayne Furman. So I know somebody would like to say something. Paul?
Rick, thank you. Thank you for doing this, too. This is really important for all of us. Dana Adair, I'm the top one. He actually graduated with my son from Sir High School. His dad worked for Edison, and his sister, my son actually went with him. I gave him his diploma too. So very young. I don't know what happened. Just seen it in the paper last week, and I just couldn't believe it. And then Dwayne Furman, when I was on the school board, he was the superintendent down here. And what a man to work with. What he's done for our kids and our community, you can't even say. And I know Brett's got a lot to say about Dwayne.
Yeah, Dwayne Furman, obviously, from my mom, growing up, I was around Dwayne all the time, and just one of the most gracious people you could ever meet. Cared about everybody and anybody, from young kids all the way up through.
And everything.
And he just led such a great life, and we were lucky to have had him here in Madera. For all the years that we did have him, and my heart goes out to his family, and Madera lost a very good person.
He was on the Fossil Discovery Center Foundation, served on that board, and among the thousands of other things he did for the community. Very encouraging guy, a good friend of mine for a number of years, and always had an encouraging word, just a smile on his face, an encouraging word. I also wanted to mention Chuck German, who passed away yesterday, owned Chowchilla Auto Body, and what a great guy, Rotarian, does everything for the community, and I've worked with him quite a few years. Going to miss him. Thank you.
You have 28 people here, and they all had a story.
They had lots of loved ones and they cared for them. I didn't know most of these people. I knew Dwayne Furman because I was a student under him, and he was a good man. As all the rest of the people were here. You know, you see the name here, but then I have to iterate that they had families and loved ones and that cared for them. And we care for them too because they're gone now. Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, I think this has been a great add-on to the board that we started this year and honoring it. And the vets here, we got 8 veterans, including Dwayne. And like Max said, they all have a story. Is there anybody who would like to talk about anybody that's on this list today? We started doing that last week. That's in the crowd. Okay, thank you. And please put Veterans Day just happened this last Friday. And please again pray for our vets that are still alive. And appreciate that. Rick, would you say the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment? Rhonda?
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board needs to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board must state their name and county of residence for the record.
Anybody from the board? Nope. I'd like to mention one thing really quick, and I've been on this the Madera County Courthouse Park Restoration Committee for 4 years now. I think finally the last 4 years, the board and Max came to my side with our park. Right now we've cut out over 20 trees, ground the stumps. We're going to be, in 3 weeks, we're going to be planting 30-some trees. They will all be the right kind of trees that roots go down, everything. They'll be very nice trees. But I was honored by giving this plaque by the courthouse restoration. I just wanted to share that with the board, and thank you for letting me be on that. And I really enjoyed it. But our courthouse park is looking pretty darn good right now. So, and thank you. Okay, any public comment? No. Merry Christmas. Okay, consent calendar.
I got one now.
Okay, go ahead.
Somebody put this on our front of ours, and I hope they had a great day. It was yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to go to it, but I'm a day late,
dollar short. Okay, consent calendar items.
Oh, yes, sorry. Ready?
Ready.
Item E.
D.
E, yeah.
Okay.
Automatic, planning automatic fund. It, how much money is in that fund? I'd like to find out. And it says $3,900, but then in parentheses later in it, it says $5,000. I didn't quite understood that.
Which one? Item E, right?
E, yeah.
E. I thought you said D, so E.
Sorry, Supervisor Wheeler. The question was the amount, the total amount in that
Yeah,
fund?
how much money we got in that account?
It is probably about $6,000. I can get you an exact amount, but about $6,000 the last time I checked.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it might be more than that. And
No,
then
we have other accounts, but I'm not going to give anybody the account number.
No, that's just
No, it is. This is actually to replace a broken computer for me. My computer, actually, the IT people know. I have to call them multiple times per week. My computer's failing, and I get locked out of my computer. In fact, this morning, I had to get unlocked again. So this is actually transferring money to buy a new computer for an employee who's having a lot of trouble, which is me.
And that's you. Yeah, but what's? I'm trying to find it again here in the letter.
It says less than $5,000, which means is that this is a less than $5,000 transfer, and that has to do with the asset allocation, and I'm not very familiar, and somebody...
Well, it says operating transfer and equipment, that's
Yes.
got that mark, $5,000.
It's less than.
It's less than.
Less than. That's
that's
what
what
that
that
means, yes.
See, I just learned something.
Yeah, that's the less than symbol.
That's not bad, huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, damn. Good to know. Then in item F, is Jerry here? King? Nobody from?
Mike's here,
Okay.
or Mike Scott.
Hi, Mike.
Good morning,
That-
Mike Gonzalez, DLC Madera.
Yeah, I seen that money that says it's COPS dollars. Are you using that equipment you're buying for the COPs, or is it you just taking that money out of that?
No, we're going to use it actually for, it's going to be for computer equipment, the same thing. Equipment's being purchased and lease agreements from, when we got computers this time, it's going to go in to pay for those leasing of those computers that we kind of replaced all the computers in the housing units for the officers to use.
Yeah. Well, is that for the COPs too?
Yes.
Oh, they'll be using them too. Okay, because you're taking some of the money out of their grant. And I was
Yes,
just
sir.
wondering if that's going to short it if you're not going to let them use it.
Absolutely.
You got it covered then.
It's being put to good use.
You're a good man.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then item H, not you.
Okay.
You're okay. I just wanted to say finally and thanks. And how long is it going to take to get to that point?
That was my...
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we do have our capital projects folks here. We meet on it every week. We are making progress. What we've had to do is go back and get more detailed engineering drawings done, and we do have a contract for that that's going to be coming to the board. No, come on up then. Sorry.
Quit shaking your head out there, honey. Tell us what's going on.
All we're doing is moving money into an appropriate capital projects account to prepare for the construction of the sign, which we hope to be next spring. We need to get the drawings
spring?
done. We need to get it back out to bid. We put it out to bid, and the prices...
5 months from now.
We've already put it out to bid, and there were so many gray areas and questions. We didn't own the land yet, and we're working on that simultaneously. So the prices varied. There was a $700,000 difference.
$700,000.
$700,000.
How much is this thing going to cost?
It's going to cost a few $100,000. So what we're doing is setting up this project account, and we've got some remnant properties that we're selling and one-time monies that we're going to recommend putting into this project account and building it so that by the time it goes out for construction, we'll have the money.
And when we look at the detailed engineering drawings, because I know at one point we wanted to use all natural everything, even the wood that went into the side of the mountain that would never be seen. Are we going to...
Well, no, we agreed to put steel and then put wood over the top of it in the fascia in the
And
front.
I'm just making sure that's not what we're aiming to do, correct?
No.
The materials aren't going to be compromised. We're going to look for ways to value engineer, but keep the integrity, keep the quality, long last of the materials. But
Right.
there may be some more economical ways to go about it by keeping what your board wanted intact.
Good.
I wish we had a picture. I carried it to all my town halls and I brag about it, but we don't have it here to show the public.
Yeah, Norm's working
Got a
on
big
it.
one? Oh, okay. Beautiful. Thank you, team. You didn't have to say nothing.
Also, so your board is aware, we are making progress on the property acquisition. So we want to make sure that we control that property before
thought we did.
put it out to bid. No, we own part of the right-of-way there, but in order for it to be at the right angle where it's as visible as it needs to be, we need to acquire some more.
Oh.
So we're working with the San Joaquin River Conservancy. And in conjunction with them, and in the end, I think it's going to end up expanding the parkway real nice, adding another 20 acres or so.
It'll help them to get.
And you're on that
access.
board, aren't you?
Yeah,
Brett?
it'll help to get access down to down there, and then we get it in a much better place instead of where it's right now sits on the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
It'll sit on that front.
Good,
portion
that's
of
what
it
we
so
really
you can
want,
see
right.
it everywhere, yeah.
Red, is it? You have two markers
We're going
up on the
over
side
it.
of the hill. That's where it's gonna-
Members of the
That's
board,
where those two
Let's
markers.
keep it on the subject. Yeah.
We're talking about the sign.
The sign,
It's not, we're
Right.
not.
It's on the sign.
but on the agenda is a transfer of appropriations.
we had to transfer.
We're going to transfer it. I want to know details, or I ain't going to vote for it.
Okay, just making sure it's completely
Okay.
on point.
Okay. Any,
What, the sign, so those stakes are about where it goes?
They just need to be opened up a little
originally,
bit.
but
You're going to move it more to
it
the
will
right?
be
then?
moved more to
More
the
east.
side.
okay, thank you,
It's gonna look great.
thank you. Anything
That's all
else,
I got.
Anything else you got, Tom? No. Thank you. Anybody else from the board? From the public?
Chairman? We have item O, the proclamation.
Okay. Yeah,
The Homeless Awareness Day, item O.
okay.
Whereas the National Coalition for the Homeless is conducting the annual National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, the week of November 12 through 20, 2016. And whereas the Madera County Homeless Coalition has agreed to support the national campaign by declaring a Homeless Awareness Day during this week. And whereas the Homeless Awareness Day is a day set aside to provide outreach to homeless individuals who reside in Madera County. The day will be a day of showing compassion to our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness and work toward a world where no one has to experience hunger and homelessness. And whereas the Madera County Homeless Coalition will hold the Homeless Awareness Day on November 15, 2016, and whereas the Madera County Homeless Coalition would like to bring awareness to the homeless community and remind all that only by solving the root causes of homelessness will the issue be eradicated. Now therefore, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby proclaim November 15, 2016 as the Madera County Homeless Awareness Day in Madera. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors encourages citizens of Madera to volunteer their time in support of this effort.
Okay, before we go forward, Mr. Dozier, did you have anything to say about the last item? Or do you have something to say about something else on the consent calendar?
I just wanted to know how much that sign is going to cost, if we have an estimate. It was brought up and sort of...
Did you not listen?
Pardon?
Did you not listen to what we were talking about? We have no price.
I
We have
listened, but I heard the CAO said there's a $700,000 difference. Do we have an estimate of what it's going to cost?
We don't. That's the whole thing. That's the reason we're doing it.
Yeah, from what I understood, the project was not. It needed more detail for people to actually bid on it correctly. It was just too far out there, so we couldn't even get a good estimate as to what.
$1 million, $2 million, $5 million?
Well, I think we should reserve that, because why would we show our cards? How can you be competitive if you tell the
And we're gonna be
bidders
bidding
what
on
you're
it.
expecting? So that wouldn't be a good thing to do.
We're not talking about money.
But what happened when we originally put it out to bid a couple months ago is that we had one bid that just put way more than they needed to. It was over-engineered, just to cover themselves. And then we had one on the opposite end of the spectrum that didn't have all the pieces that it needed. So it was pretty clear that we need to have more detail in the drawings. So,
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that was completed. Okay, come on up.
Welcome.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi. We're just here to receive the proclamation. I have a few of the members of the Madera County Homeless Coalition.
Give a little board just a little taste
Get a little
of what
closer
you guys
to
are
the
doing.
microphone, 'cause
and
I
get
can't
closer
hear out
to
of
the
this
mic.
here.
And I think it's very important, the way you work with the homeless and stuff. So just a little bit of what you do. And
I love working with this population. Our 2016 homeless point in time count, we counted 166 homeless people in Madera County. So
166?
166. And the year before it was 196, so we're down by 30. We have some new programs coming to town I'm so excited about. We have a veterans program coming. It's called Retraining the Village. She's very excited to be here. She's got other programs in the Bay Area. She's waiting to get through licensing. And then Captain C has 2 new programs I'm very excited about. We're trying to get up and running. One, a transitional housing program for domestic violence victims. And then we have one that we're going to be able to start with housing for chronically homeless men. And we've got a homeless registry, and as of right now, we've surveyed about half of our homeless, and we surveyed 56 men and 32 women, and of that group, 24 of the men scored pretty high on the index of being vulnerable. They're probably chronically homeless. And then 19 women. And so today we're going to be hosting an outreach at the park. We're going to be doing a hot dog lunch and try to survey a few more homeless people, and vendors or agencies are coming, and they're going to be sharing their resources. Resources are limited, but this community does come together with the resources that we have, and we do everything we can to help the homeless.
You know, I just want to let this board know that the group right here works very hard. They actually go down into the river, go down and do counts and different things. And the real important thing here is make sure that we keep, just because we put them in an apartment or a house or whatever, they're still homeless. And, you know, because I don't like what Fresno's, you know, basically done. They've counted the homeless, and then if they put them in an apartment or a hotel or whatever, they don't count them as homeless anymore because they're in something, but they are still homeless. And the taxpayer is paying for that homeless person in a facility. But you guys have done it just, I mean, I think when you started a couple of years, it was 210 or 200, and working very hard for the homeless and the homeless scenario that we have in Madera County, and I really appreciate what you guys have done.
Thank you. And we can thank code enforcement, too, because they've really done a lot of work in trying to not allow the accumulation of what happens when homeless are left unattended in the riverbeds. And they've really, they're working very hard to keep our community safe and clean.
Thank you.
I was going to say what a great job you do, and I was going to see if there's that coordination with code enforcement when they remove the encampments, if you're there to help with them, and then with the Housing Authority of the City of Madera, are there all those?
We actually invited them to our last Homeless Coalition meeting, which was last week, and so code enforcement came and they did a presentation of what their process is. They post in 72 hours. You have 72 hours to leave. And so what they're going to do is they're going to start sending over to us, okay, I've posted, here's the encampment, and they take pictures, and then we can go out and survey them and try to, resources are so limited, but at least we can get an account of them, and the services that we know of, we can help communicate that to them.
That's great. Yeah, when we start working together, instead of them just being displaced to somewhere else, and those little cracks are where you never really take care of the problem. You just move it somewhere else. And so I'm glad to hear that there's that interagency communication and working. So very good. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah. Do we know what percentage of them are veterans?
Ariana actually went out and did a lot of the surveys that we did, and we found 8 veterans. And so in that mix, we don't have them confirmed. 8 of the 88 were veterans. And so I'm trying to connect with the veteran reps on the FMCOC to, okay, can you help, how can you help? Because there is housing for vets.
Right. I know that there's a national figure of about 30% of the homeless are veterans, and I know that we're about 10% then, somewhere near 10%. That's interesting. I had talked at length with Kelly about employable homeless and maybe a startup program where we could use CAP-MC and do some of the necessary cleanup work along parks and roadsides and things, graffiti, that kind of thing. Maybe provide steady employment for some of these individuals and get a benefit to the community as well. That's a program that has actually worked in New Mexico. There's a mayor that instituted that. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it was quite an exciting thing to read that because they're having an 80% success rate of keeping people, I mean, maybe even higher than that, keeping people employed and getting them back from chronic homelessness. So I thought it was a great idea, and I'm trying to investigate ways we can bring that about.
Well, call Maddie Mendez.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Tom?
Yeah, I was just going to ask on these things on, why don't we have them on the regular open agenda instead of the consent calendar?
Because it was asked to be on the consent instead of the regular last time.
I know, but
so we've been putting them on there, and then we should be putting them on the regular.
Right. I think we should, because it's important for one thing. And the second thing is that we have to pull it out of the consent calendar. We could be moving on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Let's go down and take a picture real quick, and then.
I'm going to say just a word or two. Sorry. Go ahead. I was standing there, being very. I just wanted to say a couple words, because when we look at the root causes, we often associate serious mental illness with homelessness, and the idea that if we could just solve homelessness by treating the serious.
Mic's off. Yeah.
By treating the serious mental illness. The reality of it is about 20 to 25% of people that are homeless have serious mental illness. And so why do our seriously mental illness tend to become homeless? And part of it is that people that have serious mental illness, they misinterpret how their family members, care workers, CAP-MC, social services, behavioral health services that are trying to help them, they misinterpret that, and they tend to push people away. And as they are gradually pushing people away, they don't have that support system to help them, and so then they tend to live out on the streets. And then some of our clients that are seriously mentally ill, they struggle with a confinement because either they're having auditory hallucinations, they tend to be very paranoid, so they get on the streets too. As we talk about the 8 veterans, one of those veterans are one of our clients, and that always touches us. So the more we partner with the groups here, the better for those clients. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor.
I love it that you talked about one person, and one person is so important. We can't negate the importance of an individual in their lives, and who knows how we can affect that.
Any more from the public on the consent calendar? Bring it back to the board.
I move we approve that as given. I don't think there was any corrections.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
The vote passes 5-0.
Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit on the regular session. Let's go to 6E first.
E, like in dog?
E.
6E,
E.
County Council Department, Public Safety Sales Tax Measure. 1, discussion and consideration of approval of a revised resolution approving the expenditure plan for the proposed public safety transaction and use tax of 1% for the unincorporated area as required by the provisions of the laws of the state of California. 2, discussion and consideration of approval of a revised resolution calling for and giving notice of the holding of a special election to be held March 7, 2017, to present to voters in the unincorporated area of Madera County a specific use tax measure for public safety to levy a transactions and use tax of 1% as required by the provisions of the laws of the state of California.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Regina Garza, I'm your county counsel. And thank you for calling this item first to accommodate our consultant, Georgina Vivian's calendar. She has another engagement in another part of Madera. On October 18th, 2016, the board approved these resolutions. Upon turning them in to the county clerk recorder to prepare for the special election, the county clerk recorder is also here today. Thank you.
There?
she noticed some modifications that needed to occur. And what we put in the board agenda for your review and for the public's review is a red line version of the minor revisions to the resolutions to show that there are no significant changes. For example, the 1% or the amount of the proposed tax is not changed. The expenditure plan, which sets forth where the money will go to upon approval, has not changed. One of the changes, for example, is just removing the bullet points from the ballot language, because we learned that ballot language simply can't include bullet points. And so you'll see those sort of minor revisions, but we have Georgina here, myself, and the clerk recorder here to answer any questions you might have.
Anything from the board?
No, it's all pretty boiler.
Okay. Anything from the public? Bring it back to the board.
Move to approve.
Second, and I just wanted to give Georgina another thank you for giving that presentation at my town hall Thursday night in Oakhurst, and did another great job. And there were a few questions, but it's been so positive at all the town halls and all the other groups that we've talked to that it's just, I'm looking forward to pass it like Madera City did. They passed it with 80% approval. So,
well, what's nice, it goes to 100% public safety too.
Yep, exactly.
Not any other pork. So again, I'll mention that. So we have a first by Brett and then a second by Tom.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
6A.
6A, Proclamation, Board of Supervisors, Department District Number 1, presentation of a proclamation recognizing Ginger Latimer for her empowerment to youth and her dedication to the arts. Whereas Ginger Latimer has been the director-producer for both the Coyote Theater and the Madera South Theater Company for the past 25 years. And whereas Ginger began her teaching career in 1992 at Madera High School and later moved to Madera South High School. And whereas she has directed and or produced shows such as Grease, MASH, You Can't Take It With You, Little Shop of Horrors, Guys and Dolls, The Wizard of Oz, Willy Wonka, Hairspray, Titanic, Bye Bye Birdie, Our Town, All the World's a Stage, The Man Who Came to Dinner, Damn Yankees, and many more. And whereas Ginger has dedicated her career to students passionate about acting and brings her knowledge and skill of the arts to all those she comes in contact with, and whereas she has won numerous awards and accolades for her productions and continues to receive rave reviews, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby recognize Ginger Latimer for her empowerment to youth and her dedication to the arts.
Yes. Thank you. I brought this up. I saw on Facebook that Madera South Theater Company had been going for 25 years. So this is not trying to get you to retire or anything, Ginger. I know that was a question you had before, but it actually had gone back to Coyote Theater Company. If you look at on the plays at the bottom, if you start at Bye Bye Birdie, every single one of those I had the pleasure of being directed by Ginger in high school, and I credit her to my abilities even as a politician, being able to think on my feet, not caring about speaking in public, being able to project. I tend to mumble a lot. She helped me get rid of that with Unique New York. But Ginger cares so much about each and every student that comes through her programs. Is taking over. For troubled kids, she's a mother. For really troubled kids, she's a disciplinarian. But just like me in fourth grade, she had to keep a thumb on me to make sure that I was sitting in my chair with my ADD.
Is that why you still do?
That's why I have a bald spot right here. This is from Ginger. But if you sit and talk with her for any length of time about any of her students, any of the ones that are they're on a track or they don't know where their track is, she'll help them get to where they need to go. And we were just judging a talent show just this past week, and this kid got up and played this beautiful piano piece. and he didn't know what he wanted to do, and he was just going to go to the Madera Center. And Ginger took it upon herself to start working with him to try and get him into a music conservatory because that's what he wants to do. And she cares so deeply, and I love this woman with all my heart. She's been an amazing mentor to me, and every time I would come home when I was gone, I would go in and see her, and she'd let me come into her classroom, and I love her, and just wanted, when I saw 25 years, I thought this is a great time to give her some recognition that she deserves.
Have her come up.
You would come up and
Say something, or
she's not.
she's not going to say anything?
No, she'll say.
Letty.
You know, one thing I think is interesting for me, I grew up on a ranch in Madera County, but in the mid-1980s, it was Dwayne Kerman that hired me as a resource to Madera Unified School District to go out into the elementary schools and teach arts in our schools. And I mean, that was one of those kids back in the day. Every kid should be forced to take a drawing class. You never know when you're going to grow up and be a politician. Ronald Reagan, right? Thank you.
Just a quick thought. I read a piece not too long about how important the arts are to functioning life. We talked about reading with comprehension and how that reading with comprehension is based on your knowledge and experience of life, and among those are the arts. Really important the aspects of reading comprehension. We always thought that the arts were kind of an extracurricular thing in our form most fun.
They absolutely are.
Yep.
And you know what? It takes a team. Theater's a team sport. Everybody has to be disciplined. They have to be on time. They know their role, and they got to get the job done. Yes. Winter South High School. Since it opened in 1980. Big program. You've never been to any of my shows? Huge musical. Oh, I had it.
Thank you, Ginger.
That's it. You hit on something.
Yeah, she does the ROP advisory. I'm on that with her too, and so the set design is now an ROP deal. It's really the only wood shop that's left at the schools is there, where they learn how to use a table saw and learn how to, use a hammer and nail, right?
I'll teach you how to turn bowls.
Seriously.
Such
Okay.
an important skill.
It really is.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Brett, for bringing that for us. 6B.
6B, Board of Supervisors Department, all districts. Update on state legislative activities by Paul Yoder of Shaw Yoder Antwith, Inc.
Our chiefs of staff, come on up and sit with him. I think you're part of this team, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. Thank you, Paul, for bringing this update. And I think someone probably wrote you a little email that what I'm interested in is the propositions and what that's going to do to Madera County. And I just want, I think we should do this every 6 months with you at least. And so you keep us informed. I really appreciate what your group has done for Madera County to keep us advised on different things. And it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members, for having me here today. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. Thank you for having me here today. I'm sorry, I guess we're not going to do theater in the round again here for my presentation, but that was very good. We're going to segue from drama to the dramatic, right? So I'm going to break my presentation into 4 parts today. Very quickly look back at The legislative session to date, we still have a transportation special session. I'd like to talk about that too. I'd like to talk about the ballot propositions and then look forward to 2017 a little bit. So very quickly, looking back at the 2015-2016 legislative session, everything except the extraordinary session on transportation, I just want to make sure the board members and the public understand that there were pieces of legislation that this board weighed in to oppose that would have been bad for the citizens of Madera County, and I want to make sure everyone understands that one of those related to transportation, but on the 4 that did not, that the board opposed, they either died in the legislature or they were vetoed by Governor Brown, and so you batted 1,000, and that's saying a lot. So way to pick your spots, and way to all of us to work as a team, and I think that's good stuff. On the transportation special session, because we are not in fact done with the session yet in California, we have until the end of November, and this has obviously been a point of much discussion over a year and a half, 2 years. I just want to say a couple things. The governor has proposed a package in the neighborhood of $3.7 billion. The package that is currently on the table right now is $7.4 billion, so literally twice as big as what the governor's proposed. I think just about everybody working on this issue in Sacramento expects that if a deal comes together, that number will come down.
Assemblyman Frazier, 7, you said?
What's that? 7.4.
7.4.
And the governor's actually proposed 3.7.
3.7, I got that. Yeah.
So I'm not super good at math. Letty, is that that's twice as big?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, almost. So the governor, Assemblymember Frazier, I think, who is the chair of
No relation, by the way.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. I'm positive.
Yeah, that would surprise me. But Assemblymember Frazier has said that he doesn't want to go below $6 billion for a package, and I think that's pretty much what the California State Association of Counties would like to see as a bottom line. However, we do think that Senator Bell, who chairs the Senate Transportation Committee, and other members of the Senate are willing to go as low as $5 billion. And I think that's important because another thing that's emerging is that there are, in fact, not only Republicans, but there are members of both Democratic caucuses of this legislature who really don't want to see a package that big. If having a package that big means that a gas tax hike around in the neighborhood of 17 cents has to be part and parcel of that package. I think there's a sort of bipartisan, bicameral pattern emerging that folks would, frankly, if there's going to be a gas tax hike, they would like it to be less. And so that could ultimately be the thing that really brings the size of the package down. I think no matter what the size of the package is, you're going to see almost a 50-50 split between the state and local governments, right? So if it's $5 billion, $2.5 billion for the state, $2.5 billion for cities and counties, give or take. Probably this is a 2/3 vote package, I think, as the board members understand, and probably a lot closer, fair to say that we are a lot closer in the Senate right now to that 2/3 vote, a lot closer than in the state assembly. And I think by most counts right now, the assembly probably has somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 of the 54 votes necessary to pass a transportation package by the end of this legislative session. So happy to answer questions about that, but did definitely want to talk about that since we are still sort of underway there. In terms of the ballot propositions, Mr. Chairman, I think the ones that clearly will impact counties and Madera County most directly are starting with Proposition 55. That is the measure that extended the income tax hike on the highest earners in California. It did not, especially for the public's benefit, extend the sales tax hike, the temporary sales tax hike. So the sales tax in California, the state sales tax will go down on January 1, 2017. But that measure, since it passed, does not blow a $7 to $8 billion hole in Governor Brown's proposed 2017-2018 state budget. If the voters had not approved that and that hole had occurred, Governor Brown had made it very clear that he was ready to prepare two budgets, Budget A and Budget B. Budget A having that $7 to $8 billion in it, Budget B not having that money in it. A budget without another $7 or $8 billion would have impacted California counties pretty significantly, and I don't mean that as
political. What will be the
political.
drop in the rate?
Quarter cent.
A quarter cent.
Yeah, quarter cent. And I just want to stress that's the state rate. Obviously, a lot of self-help measures up and down the state, but that's the state rate that'll be going down. And so 55 passing, I think, is a big deal for the counties. Proposition 57 which also passed. That was a measure backed by Governor Brown that now gives him additional authority to release felons from the state penal system, thousands of felons, if he and his administration so choose. Interesting development in the county family on that. I don't recall ever seeing it before. The district attorneys statewide, as an association, were opposed to it. The state sheriffs, as an association statewide, were neutral on Proposition 57, and the chief probation officers, as a statewide association, were actually in support of Proposition 57. And so differences of opinion even within the county family on that. But to be sure, Governor Brown, since he worked so hard to get that on the ballot and then campaigned for it, raised money for it, I think we should expect that the Brown administration is ready to implement the provisions of that measure. And so big impacts for the counties there as well. Another one with just can't underscore the impacts to the counties of this enough, the legalization of cannabis under Proposition 64 will have humongous ramifications throughout the state and for counties. The finer point on 64 that I'd like to make to the board today is that every initiative specifies the extent to which it can be amended by legislatures in the future. Prop 64 can, in fact, be amended, and it specifies very clearly that, I think it's Sections 5 and 6, there's already a dispute about the extent to which the initiative will allow future legislatures to amend other provisions of the initiative. And I'm not exactly sure at this point how that's going to work itself out, but the initiative does explicitly say that Sections 5 and 6 can be amended by future legislatures. Initiatives can also specify the vote requirement for legislatures to amend initiatives. It's one initiative back in the day that said you have to have a 4/5 vote of the legislature to amend the initiative's provisions. Typically, it's a 2/3 vote to amend. Proposition 64, as far as I know, only requires a simple majority vote, but again, I think the drafters of it believe that that would only apply to certain provisions of 64. So long story short, I think it is safe to say that next year we will see, I'm going to call it cleanup legislation. Intelligent people can disagree about what cleanup really means, but I think it's safe to say you're going to see cannabis-related legislation again in the 2017-2018 special session. So those are the initiatives that I wanted to highlight, Mr. Chairman, and happy to take questions about others or those when we get to question and answers. And then finally, looking forward a little bit more to 2017, talked about the fact that there won't be that $7 to $8 billion hole as a result of an initiative passing or failing. However, the numbers for October just came out, the state's financial numbers. The state was down a couple $100 million for October. We think Governor Brown pretty easily, as he's putting together his next budget, can say that there's at least $1 billion hole. Certainly, the state's not going to have more money right now than was anticipated, it appears. And then on top of that, and I really mean this, I just want to state this as much as a statement of fact as I can, what's already emerging in Sacramento clearly after the election is we have one city, Washington, D.C., that is completely controlled by one party. We have a different city, Sacramento, California, that is completely controlled by another party. And as evidenced by a joint press release from the pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the Assembly, the majority party in power in Sacramento expects to react significantly to maybe some things coming out of, I will say maybe some things coming out of Washington, D.C. And we really are, I think, setting up for this sort of intercontinental clash of the titans, if you will. And on top of everything else counties might have been dealing with in 2017, I just think at the highest level of politics, you can expect the California legislature to in some instances try to double down on some of the policies that it's enacted, in some instances where maybe the game changes in Washington, D.C. to institute or reinstitute something here in California. And the year 2017 just got a heck of a lot more interesting at Sacramento, just to put it mildly. And so I'm happy to talk about that too, and in the ways that may manifest if any member of the board would like to do that. So thank you again for having me here, and I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions from the board?
No, you did a good job. Thank you.
Great. The only question I have is at RCRC this last time, this is going to be whatever. But we had the Department of Dope. I think it's the Department of Cannabis or whatever they put it. To me, it's Department of Dope.
DOD.
But yeah, DOD. But anyway, what was very interesting to me is Governor Brown started this department, and to me, it should be under the control of the. It's a plant. It's an ag. It should be under the Department of Agriculture. Why would we create a whole new department of that 2 years ago, basically, that these people have no idea? It was embarrassing listening to them at RCRC. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassing. And have no idea about the plant, have no idea about the agricultural part, have no idea. I mean, it was the questions that the county supervisors asked was very embarrassing to that group.
Yeah.
And why would we, go to the expense when you have the Department of Agriculture that can control that whole thing? Is there anything that we can do about that, or?
Oh, well, I think there's always things that
write a letter or write a whatever.
Well, I don't. As I said, I'm not sure the ink is dry yet on all things cannabis, and I think, I think people will. I don't know if we're going to see an initiative to go and amend the initiative, but as I mentioned, I think you're going to see some legislation. Can't tell you how much right now, but I think there will be opportunities for Madera County to weigh in on the issue of sort of commodity versus agriculture. I think the thinking with medical was really that a lot of people just assumed that recreational cannabis was going to pass, and when that happened, it wouldn't just be an agricultural setup. Obviously, there are a lot of other products that can now, or as of January 1, 2018, will be able for sale in the state of California, and they will derive from agriculture, but there'll be a lot more commercial.
There's a lot of manufacturing that goes into it with the oils and the honeys and all.
The other thing too is again, the Department of Agriculture, they really know about our water situation and stuff like that. These guys don't. And the cannabis plant takes a lot of water, and maybe there's areas it can grow, and maybe there's areas that it can't grow. And I hope that as we move forward, we hear a lot from you of how it's going to be. I think they have a year to put it all together or something like that. Under the crop.
A year.
It was a year. But I tell you, county supervisors really need to pay attention to what's going on, especially after listening to Colorado and all the things that's happened to the, in just 4 short years, Board of Education and stuff like that's dropped in Colorado because of this, and making it easier for the kids, basically to get it. And what's very interesting in Colorado, in fact, at CSAC and at other at RCRC2, we had the Attorney General from Colorado, not this time but last time, and all they're doing is following the laws. They didn't like it, and the different things that Colorado went through and is going through currently, like the Mexican mafia moving into Colorado and stuff like that. It's very interesting to watch how this goes forward. But here it goes again. It's going to be pushed and dumped right back on the counties. That kind of that situation. David?
May I, Mr. Chairman? I'm so sorry, Supervisor, but just to your question very specifically, I want to make sure the board members have heard that the Department of Conservation, which oversees the Williamson Act in California, has actually issued a letter that says they view cannabis as a compatible use on Williamson Act land. Just to your point of, is it agricultural or not? The State Department of Conservation has said it's a compatible agricultural use. So
should be under.
Thank you, Supervisor.
No worries. Yeah, my thoughts were that the law doesn't. It actually allows for the regulation for counties. Is that correct? Still, as we've been doing in the past, counties can still regulate the product as they would any other business.
Local control is part of the recreational cannabis initiative.
Right, and I think one of the important things that Rick brought up was the water use. 7 acre-feet per acre is the average use for cannabis, and we don't have any plant growth that equals that. I mean, that's double anything out there. Also, the environmental destruction, that's a big one for me. The regulation needs to focus in on the environmental destruction, the loss of forest lands, the fact that poisons are used to wipe out animal life that would be rodents and what have you that would be partaking of this stuff. This stuff not only leaches into the groundwater, but it gets into the runoff, destroying the water quality gets wiped out. So it's a huge environmental nightmare out there. We saw that a year ago at RCRC. They did a big presentation on it. And that just really concerns me that we can cover those issues adequately. And not only that, but like he said, the schools too, they have a zero tolerance policy. How does this law affect their ability to enforce that zero tolerance? I guess it would be the same with cigarettes or any other thing or any other drug that's available, that they can still enforce that in the school levels, but how do you keep it out of the hands of kids? It's just really a tough situation. So we've got our work cut out for us on that issue. And anyway.
And thank you, Paul. And the other thing is thank you for, keeping us up on, 109, 57, 47, and, what that's going to do to the county and what it's going to cost us. We've already found out what it's going to cost our corrections, as far as it happening. And again, Sacramento seems like they love get it out of Sacramento on their budget and send it down to our county budgets. And the rural counties, the sad part about it is the rural counties are the ones that are really getting hit hard, under 500,000 population. If you look at the rural counties, they voted against it, and because they know what's coming, because they don't have as much control as the bigger counties like L.A. or San Francisco, stuff like that. So. Very interesting times, and again, thank you so much for keeping us up, and thanks for our chief of staff is sticking up with staying and helping Paul in some of the things that we ask you to do. I hope that continues, and I'd like to see Rhonda, get more involved with this part of it, the ledge part of it, and because you are our board of clerk, and we need to know what's going on too. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the public? Thank you. Bring back to board. It was a presentation.
Thank you very much.
Jay, did you wear a green shirt for Prop 64 passing today? Is that? I've never seen you.
Okay. Before we go to C, I think it's real important. After listening to Paul, I'd like to listen to Bobby, and then I'd like to go to D next, and then have C a presentation, because I think it's very interesting. All the stuff that we've worked on with Paul and with Bobby, and then coming back and showing our county and showing off our county.
Okay, 6D, Economic Development Commission. Presentation by Bobby Kahn, Executive Director of the Economic Development Commission on Madera County Business Development.
Good morning. Sorry about that, Jay. Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bobby Kahn, Madera County Economic Development Commission. First, let me just say thank you for having me here today. And secondly, I too would just like to weigh in just briefly on Dr. Furman and the leadership he provided to this community. I think that when Madera chose to go with the Unified School District, we couldn't have found a better leader to guide us through that transition, and he was just such a leader and such a visionary, and I know we'll all miss him. I know he had a big impact on my life too. So with that, again, just thank you. I just want to give you guys a quick overview of Madera County Economic Development Commission. And today, my goal is not to talk specifically about any one or two projects, but to kind of give you an overview of the commission, to give you a kind of a more of a in-depth look at all the different services that we provide. First, let me just kind of go over the areas we're going to be covering. As far as the economic development services, you can see under that we have our marketing missions, our public policy advocacy, the Greater Madera County Industrial Association, or often referred to as GMCIA, And then just a list there. The promotion, these are all promotional things that we do. It's a lot of our promotional items are social media. They're all something's going out every day, if not twice a day or more often. And then public service, just the business project assistance, advice that we give, business incentive information, and so forth. And we'll kind of touch on a lot of these programs as we go through the presentation. First, we'll talk about attraction and retention. And as I always say in economic development, attraction is always kind of the sexy part of our job, because everybody likes to go to groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, and welcome new businesses to town. And it is a very critical part of what we do. And what we'll be talking about is the marketing missions that we go on, where we meet brokers face-to-face, trade shows that we attend, our website presence, which we've just recently upgraded, and we're continually working on that to keep it cutting edge, incentive information, and real estate promotion. On the retention, and what we go talk about, retention and expansion really kind of go together. Where we work with businesses on expansion, we just met with a business 2 weeks ago on an expansion project that they're going to be initiating, and we're going to be included in their expansion team. We act as a liaison between the state and county government. We have small business financing, what also referred to as a revolving loan fund, which we run for the county. We provide incentive advocacy on behalf of Madera County, but also the Central San Joaquin Valley, demographic, workforce partners, and public policy. Going into the attraction on the marketing missions, through the years, we've built a database of key brokers and site selectors, not only statewide but nationally as well. So we have over 850 brokers in our system at this time. And again, these are the top echelon brokers, the ones that are doing the big deals, the ones that have the big clients in tow. And those are the guys that we want to stay connected with and build relationships with. On the marketing missions, you can see that 33, we went on 4 marketing missions, and those marketing missions, what they are is they are set up ahead of time, where we'll go into a community. Like last week, we were down in the Irvine area, and we worked for 3 days straight, and we have meetings that are preset going in, so that we're not just randomly knocking on doors. We go from meeting to meeting. Generally have 4 to 5 meetings is about all you can cram into one day as you travel from office to office. But these are one-on-one meetings, relationship building, where we're talking about Madera County and specifically the advantages that they we have here in Madera County, and the advantages of them bringing their clients here. And a lot of these brokers, not only do they not know about Madera County, they don't know about the San Joaquin Valley. So it's an education process, and especially when we travel out of state, it's really educating them first on the San Joaquin Valley and specifically on Madera County, on where we are, that there's more to California than just San Francisco and the LA Bay Area, because so many of them, when you move out of the state of California, they just see these 2 key areas of the state. They're well known for how expensive they are and all the issues that they have as far as traffic and communications and logistics and what have you. So we do that. And out of these missions, we developed 7 leads. This was just last year's work. So they do work, and I can tell you that the relationships we build are irreplaceable. The trade shows, most of the trade shows that we do are in conjunction with our California Central Valley EDC, just for budgetary purposes, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But we attend the Process Expo, which is a national trade show. The International Council of Shopping Centers, that you'll also hear that is referred to as ICSC. That is one that we attend just on behalf of Madera County. and that is more on the retail side. We're talking with retail brokers, retail end users. Their big conference is in May in Las Vegas, but they also have a smaller one, a regional show in March in Monterey, and then they have another regional show in the fall in San Diego. Those are both very effective because the show in Las Vegas is so big that it takes you, it will literally take you 20 minutes to walk from one booth to the next, for your meetings.
It's like a city.
It is.
Yeah, there's 40,000 people?
40 to 60,000 people in attendance there. So not only are you walking long distances, you're walking, trying to walk around people and everything else. So it's quite an undertaking. But almost every retailer you can think of in the United States is in attendance at that trade show. So it's very critical. The only thing that you really have to do when you attend that trade show, you have to be prepared going in. You have to have your meetings and your appointments set up in advance, especially with your major retailers, because they're so inundated that they do not have representatives or they do not have the time just for walk-up trade. Now, your smaller ones, I do a lot of walk-ups on them, but your big ones, you have to have an appointment. And then the Westpac Trade Show, that's probably the biggest trade show held on the West Coast. It's in Anaheim every February. I know we try to get out invitations to you guys if you ever want to go there and walk the show and see what it's about. But it's basically about 7 trade shows, 7 entities that have come together. So you have everything from medical devices to processing to packaging to green technology and what have you. So it's a very encompassing trade show. And it's one that we've been attending for about 14 years. And actually, the Eurodrip company, which is out in our Southwest Industrial Park, is where I met those folks for the very first time. Society of Office and Industrial Realtors. Often, SOIR, you'll hear us talk about that. This is both a national and a state. I tend to focus more on the state level than the national. I was trying to attend a lot of the national events, but the discount that I was getting on that went away, so the expense of it went up dramatically. So I've been picking and choosing about how cost effective that is. But the state chapters, we work with those very regularly. The SOIR designation, just so that you have an idea of what that is, those brokers are your very top industrial and office brokers, and they tend to be more on the industrial side. The designation, you have to take a series of tests, you have to go through a series of panel interviews, and you have to pass all the rigors of the classroom and interviews. But that doesn't give you the SOIR designation. To gain the SOIR designation, you have to have a deal flow, and that deal flow is $400,000 per year. And that's not generating $400,000 into the office, that's generating $400,000 to the broker, to you as that broker. So those guys are the cream of the crop, and that's why we focus on them, because they're the biggest deal makers that you can find. The results from these trade shows, we've generated over 1,000 leads and contacts, business contacts, and created 27 leads. You can see the prospects by the source of our prospects, CCVEDC, which is our Central California Economic Development Corporation. It's a regional group that that markets the San Joaquin Valley. We had 9 leads for there. GoBiz, which is the Governor's Office of Economic Development, generated 8 leads from their office. And through our marketing efforts, we generated 21 leads in this last year. Some of the new businesses that have arrived in Madera since 2012, you can see here, I'm not going to go through all of them, but several of them, like Paramount Farms was a big addition that's come to the county. Their plant out on Avenue 7 and Road 13, done a lot of work with your county staff, and they've been great to work with. We just had them in about a month or 6 weeks ago, and your staff was outstanding working with them. Some of the new developments, again.
Bobby, real quick, just on that list shows you how important farming is to
Oh, yeah.
Madera County.
Yeah, and
I
that's
mean,
the
I don't
thing.
think there was one on there, even Deer Point, don't they sell chemicals to?
Chemicals
Yeah.
to farms, yes. Yep. I don't think I have to touch on all these. All you guys have had a hand in, I think, almost every one of these projects, one way or the other. Maybe not the Chowchilla mixed-use project or the Chowchilla industrial project, but I think some of the other big ones that you have, or you've been aware of it, the Love's Travel Center is a City of Madera project, and we just broke ground, one that's not on here. These slides are a little bit dated, but was the groundbreaking of the new almond processing plant out in the Airport Industrial Park was last week. Other marketing activities, the Economic Summit Luncheon, which was just held a couple weeks ago, was a huge success this year. I thought the speakers both were outstanding speakers, very timely topics, both water and state finances. So it was, and both speakers really, I thought, I don't want to say dumbed it down, but they both run the Madera County Irrigation District and the State Legislative Analyst's Office are both very complicated organizations, but the leaders of those organizations were our keynote speakers and both did a great job of capturing what they do in layman's terms so that it could be understood. State of the county, eggs and issues, we go through all this. E-Biz, that's one that I want to highlight. If you guys aren't receiving our E-Biz, which is our monthly newsletter, please let me know. We'll get you on the list, but I think most all of you are on that list. We put out our annual report, which is just coming out. Real estate update publication. This is something that the brokerage community loves. We update this every year. It gives them a snapshot of what's happening in Madera County as far as real estate. Gives them land sale prices, building sale prices, lease rates, both commercial and industrial. We also touch on real estate, residential real estate, and what the residential real estate market is doing. It's the one piece when you go call on these guys, when they open up our folder, it's the first piece they go to. Social media, again, this is something that we keep expanding on. Julie does a great job on this. We've been sending her to classes and getting her even more educated on how to take full advantage of social media. You'll see us on Facebook, you'll see us on LinkedIn, you'll see us on Twitter, you'll see us on Pinterest, and you'll see her blogs daily, and you'll even see some tweets from me from time to time. And then the California legislative trip, we do that on an annual basis to keep our legislators aware of the importance of economic development in the San Joaquin Valley and how the San Joaquin Valley is different than the San Francisco Bay Area and different than the LA area. And we meet with our local people, but we also meet with key legislators, the chair of the Jobs and Economic Development Committee, and other key committee chairs that we feel have an effect on economic development. Some of the other activities we perform, these are the ones that are kind of behind the scenes that really nobody knows about or seldom hears about, is our SEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. This is a document that we prepare and that we maintain. It's for all three jurisdictions. It's for the county and both the cities. If the county or either of the cities wanted to apply, or any other nonprofit in the County of Madera wanted to apply for an EDA grant, an Economic Development Agency grant through the federal government, you have to have a current SEDS report on file, and this is one of the, and they also encourage you to work through our agency because the regional representatives do not like to be having to deal with all the different entities. So they like to start with us and then have us work alongside them with the local entity, whether it be the county or one of the cities. Recycling Market Development Zone. We're also the recycling managers for the County of Madera. We keep a report for the county on the recycling activity that's happening in the county, and we send that in to the state every year on behalf of the county. Revolving Loan Fund, we manage both the revolving loan fund for the county and for the City of Madera. These are small business loans that we give often to businesses that have difficulty obtaining the financing they need for expansion or sometimes even startup. And we come in behind the lenders. Our interest rates, even though we're coming in second positions, are still at 3% and 4%, so they're very competitive. And they also help create jobs. There's a job creation element to the program. And again, right now, if any of you know of a business in the county, we actually have county money that we're looking to try to push out the door. And the city of Madera, not so much, but we do have some money for that program still left in the account as well. And what we do with where that money comes from is generated through your CDBG Economic Development Fund.
How much money is available in the county right now?
I'd have to ask Lois for the exact amount, but we have probably, I would say we probably have a couple $100,000.
And how much can one entity ask for? Can they ask for as much as?
Well, you can. It depends. You have to create the number of jobs. You have to have one job for every 35,000, and then you also have to be able to qualify for the amount you're asking for. It's just like a bank loan. You have to go through the qualification process. We have a loan committee. Lois does all the application. She does all the underwriting, and then once she packages it, we have a loan committee that's made up of a local attorney, a local accountant, two local bankers, and Valley Small Business. They're the 5 individuals that sit on that. They review it, and they give their final approval. Then it goes back up to the state to review to make sure all the guidelines are met. So you can ask for, a lot, but you have to meet all the guidelines, and you have to collateralize it as well. So it's most of our loans are in the range of $50,000 to $100,000. We have made a few over $100,000. I think our biggest ever was one at $200 and some $1,000. And then the Greater Madera County Industrial Association, I think most of you are familiar with that organization. It's like a mini chamber of commerce, but you have to be a manufacturer to be a member. They're very protective of that. And several years ago, the person that was their administrative person was leaving, so they came to us and asked us if we would take it over. And so they were being charged $400 a month for that, and so we told them that we would do it, and we do it at no charge to them, so that it keeps them for keeping their dues relatively affordable. Madera Chamber County Countywide Tourism Alliance is something that we have a representative that sits on that. That's one of Julie's responsibilities. And if you had the opportunity to attend the Pomegranate Festival a couple weeks ago, Julie was actually the chairperson for that event, and I think she's done a great job. She's been the chair now, I think, for 3 years running, and they've gone from an attendance of about 5,000 to this year they had the first year she took over, they had attendance of 1,000. This year they had attendance of approximately 10,000. Wow! So it's a great advertising, and a great tool for bringing people into Madera County. And we got great press coverage on it this year. If you watch TV or listen to the radio at all, you had to hear it. Eastern Madera County Chamber Alliance, again, this is something that we put together, started with the Oakhurst Chamber. They weren't getting much traction up there, so we recommended that we bring the 4 chambers of Eastern Madera County together. We meet on a regular basis. We were able to obtain a $25,000 grant that runs through our organization, that we are the fiscal agents, but that money goes to help promote economic development in Eastern Madera County. Back to the California Central Valley Economic Development Corporation, again, we pay dues to join through our budget. We pay the dues to belong to this organization. And it's a regional marketing group that markets the San Joaquin Valley as a whole. It helps leverage our marketing funds, so instead of all 8 counties going to a trade show and spending $8,000 or $10,000 at a trade show, we go together, we market the valley together. We have a paid consultant that runs the organization. All the leads from those trade shows come into her. She qualifies them, and then she pushes them back out to us. So we work together to market the valley, and then once the leads come out, then we become friendly competitors as well. The Y Madera County Coalition, again, we've been active members on that. We're actually the fiscal agent for that group as well, and been trying to attend as many meetings as possible to help push that. These are just some of the state awards that Madera County Economic Development Commission has been have received over the last years since we've been there. This last one was the most recent one at the last CalEd conference was for the Freedom Industrial Park, and you can see the photograph at the bottom right-hand side. And then just a quick, again, thank you. I wanted just to, throw up the staff as well, because I'm blessed that I go to work every day with staff that is hard workers. They're dedicated. They really have Madera County in their heart, and they work extremely hard, and they take their jobs very seriously. And I know I couldn't function without the two, with Julie and Lois working side by side. Lois has been, I've been at the Economic Development Commission for 14 and a half years. She started 30 days after I did. The first thing I was told when I walked in on the first day was that the office manager was leaving, and so I needed to start hire a new one. So Lois was my first hire, and she's still there. And then Julie's been with us for over 8 years now. So it's a small staff, but they've been there, and I said, they're dedicated, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from the board?
Very good report, presentation.
Very, very good report, Bobby. Thank you. And thanks for putting it together. I know I asked you about a month ago to do it, and it looks like you really did a great job. The only question I have is remember the industrial study that we had a year ago that says Madera is just prime for industrial and I think it was, 40, number one or something, or two in the whole country for prime. Is it because of the California laws, or is it because of the buyout of other companies that it looks like the United States has moved from deregulation to regulation, and we have companies buying out, like AT&T is merging with Time Warner, or if that works out or whatever. And it doesn't look like we're going, in the right direction anymore as deregulation. So you have these smaller companies and stuff like that. And then, we've had a long talk about the only people that actually come into California, or it would come to this area, would be California companies that know how to work with California. Now, I'm happy to see that you guys are going down like to Irvine and stuff like that and try to pull some of the Southern California. And I don't know if you're going to the Bay Area. I didn't see any, but it looks like that's basically, the only thing that will come to Madera if it is a huge company that needs to come to Madera. And we've got plenty of sub shops. We got plenty of all that stuff. What we need is industry. So is that the reason that we're not bringing something pretty good size? I just toured the Apple facility. Up in the Bay Area. Oh my God! I mean, that is amazing. $2 billion project, and takes up 4 acres or something like that, just the round building. But we have stuff in Tracy that's going on that I think it's who in the heck is that? The big outfit, Amazon.com, stuff like. Why can't we pull stuff in like that?
But Amazon, to start there.
Because we got 152 and 99, I mean, perfect.
Yeah, but the thing is, 152 and 99 is a good transportation corridor, but you have to remember that Amazon is not a distribution center. They're a fulfillment center. So what they're looking for population pockets. That's why if you look at that, what they call it the Manteca-Tracy triangle, because you have 205 coming in there, you have the 580, you have I-5, and then just a little ways up the road, you have 80 going east. And so you're probably 40 minutes into San Jose, you're 40 minutes into the East Bay, you're an hour into San Francisco, you're an hour into Sacramento. You have a huge mass of population, and you have excellent transportation corridors with the 205, the 580, and the 101 going into the peninsula, 580 going up into the East Bay. You're only, an hour from the Oakland port. And then just the population. So that's, if you look at where Amazon went, they went right over the hill from San Francisco into the Patterson-Manteca Triangle. Their other facilities are down in the Inland Empire, which is just east of the L.A. market. So they're sitting on their population bases because their fulfillment, they're overnight. They need to take their orders and get them out. And so as they grow through the state, the Central Valley is going to come along later in the game because we don't have the numbers of people here for fulfillment centers.
Yeah, because they can still fulfill the Central Valley from their Sacramento, Modesto.
Yeah, from their Manteca, Patterson sites. There,
I thought it was distribution.
It's interesting to me that that's true, and I understand that and all that stuff. But why is Best Buy in Delano? Why is Walmart one of the biggest guys in Porterville? I mean, that is just absolutely because of the labor. That's why they're in those positions, and you're looking at huge. What is the Walmart, 1 million square feet, something like that, in Porterville, and 500,000 square feet in Best Buy in Delano, off the path of any freeway. So what you're saying is right, as far as Amazon, stuff like that. But I mean, as far as Best Buy, as far as companies like that, God, right next to the glass plant makes a lot of sense. Anyway, I'm happy that you're going, to trying to steal business out of Irvine. That's a good place to steal it.
Yeah, and just going back to that question too, is we do annually we go into the greater LA market. We actually cut that into two markets. We cut it into LA and we cut it into Irvine, Newport Beach, Orange County, because it's two separate markets really. And it's really too big to cover in 2 or 3 days if you try to do L.A. and Irvine. The other areas that we hit every year is Sacramento, and we always hit the Bay Area as well. And when we talk about Sacramento, that's actually we started Stockton, work into Sacramento, and actually up into Roseville, Rockland area. So we call that all Sacramento. But there's some big brokers, some big heavy-duty brokers that are located in Stockton. They have a huge CBRE office there and a huge Collier's office, and Lee and Associates also has an office in Stockton. And those guys do a lot of work down this way.
Thanks, Bobby. Anything from the public? Okay. Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and thanks for the update. Let's take a 5-minute break. I think people need a rest. Okay. We are back. Let's go to 6C.
6C, County Administration Department, presentation comparing elements of the Madera County budget to all other California counties.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Eric Fleming, County Administrator. I'm joined for this presentation by our budget team. We've got our outgoing and incoming budget directors and our budget analyst, Nicole.
Breaking them in right.
That's right. Back in October, I attended the annual CAO conference, and the gentleman's name was Jeffrey Neal, and he is an analyst with California State Association of Counties. And he had taken some time to look at all of the counties' 2014-15 fiscal year budgets statewide and made some comparisons on some key expenditures. And so I wanted to take a little bit of time to walk through it because it really does show that we are in a good position in most every one of these critical categories. Keep in mind as we're going through that the population or any percentages based on population is off the last census, which was in 2010. And also we drilled down a little deeper beyond the statewide comparison to look at the 4 other Central Valley counties that we often like to compare ourselves to. And that's Merced, Tulare, Kings, and Fresno. Those that are right around us. We have a lot of similarities. So let's jump right into this. This is important. This is something that we've talked about, but we've never really put a figure to it. We talked about it during budget. We talked about it, last time we talked about it was when we talked about your board's role in comparison to these other counties. And it was these other 4 counties. Yes. I'll hold it a little closer.
Oh, that's much better.
Okay. So last time we discussed this, it was in relation to what your board does compared to the other counties. And I think it was the same 4 other counties. And it was kind of hard to explain, but in general, we stay very busy here. We have a high percentage of our population is in the unincorporated area, which actually leads to a higher demand for urban-like services from the county. Right. You have fewer city councils, you have fewer city managers, you have fewer police chiefs, and all those people that come with incorporated areas that take the load off county supervisors. We're unique in this way, and this statistic alone shows that. We are almost 50% of the population that your board represents and that we all serve is unincorporated area residents.
In other words, everything they do is consolidated in our situation into one organization.
To different degrees. And I think the demand is probably not for absolute urban service levels, thank goodness, because I think we would even be more challenged. But I think people residing in Madera County, in the unincorporated areas, are good with that little more of a rural setting. They don't have that demand for the absolute urban city type, which works well for us, and I think we do that well.
Just a point on that. I'm
Yeah.
on the air board, and we have 8 counties, and I talk about some of this stuff that I do, and others have to look at me, what do you mean you do that? I mean, especially Fresno. It's amazing what they don't do.
That's right.
Public.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And Fresno, that's a good example. They only 18%
right. That's what
of their counties in unincorporated areas.
You're in
right.
this? Yeah.
That's right.
It's really funny. I mean, it's totally different thing out there.
And I think we are probably even further out because our population has grown a considerable amount since 2010, and it continues to grow in higher densities in unincorporated areas with Rio Mesa and Tesoro Viejo. So I think this is important to remember as we go forward when we're thinking about what we do and what it takes for us to do the things that we do. So just keep in mind that there's a higher demand for things like law enforcement, fire, roads, sewer, water system, and parks. And there's a higher demand on the county. So the first category was the number of employees that we have here in Madera County per 1,000 residents or per 1,000 population. We're at 10, which puts us right in the middle of our comparable counties, but we're on the low end if you look at the statewide spectrum. Most of the rural, as you can see, the light blue represents the rural counties. Most of the rural counties have a lot higher number of employees per resident. And we're down here at the end. And it gets better in that this 10 represents all of the positions that we have on the books, but not necessarily filled positions. And over the last few years, since we fell off the fiscal cliff, your board has selectively frozen certain positions, and we continue to keep certain positions vacant and unfunded. So in reality, we've got 1,171 positions as of today. That represents 7.8 employees per 1,000 residents. So
what's that number? 1,000 what?
1,171 full-time employees. So it actually puts us at 7.8 employees per 1,000 residents, which puts us at the lowest staffing. I mean, assuming that the other counties aren't.
I think rural counties, we're the lowest because we're tied with Nevada.
Yeah, so that puts us well into the lowest.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's efficiency. I really do. I mean, I think over the years, too, we've done a good job of putting the right people in the right place, and you can do a lot more with less people if you have the right people. And I know that's your board's priority, and it's been a directive, and it's been something that's drilled into all of our heads. So I think we're doing a great job.
So we're really staying away, really a good job, staying away from the figures that we had before the economy dropped,
Yes.
because I think we're pretty close to 1,500, weren't we?
Yes, we
Yeah.
were.
So, I mean, how many years later, and we're still at 1171? I mean, I really credit that to our department heads and yourself and your leadership, and thank you, department heads, because that's what keeps the cost down, and you'll see going forward on this. So,
But without policy direction at the top, it wouldn't happen. A number of us have worked in other counties, and it doesn't happen unless your board has that vision. Now, another part of this, too, that I think, whether you want to think it helps or not, depends on where you're coming from, I think it helps, is that we contract out a number of services. So a number of jobs are done by contract employees. They're not employees. People that are under contract. Right. So I think that as well brings our number of employees per 1,000 residents down.
Which makes us leaner, so the next time there's a downturn, it doesn't hurt as bad.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So how we rank against our closest neighbors, we're right in the middle, but in reality, but it may be the case with some of them too, we're at 7.8. So that
but they also have a lot larger populations.
They
or at least
do.
Fresno County does.
They do. And so that number will drop the larger the population is.
Kings is comparable.
Yeah. Okay, so next category is wages, retirement, and health costs as a percentage of the total, all revenue sources that come into the county that you have to finance your budget with. So, as you can see, statewide, we're on the low end of this spectrum. 39.4% of our total annual budget goes towards wages, retirement, and health care costs, leaving 60% of the budget for supplies, materials, professional services, contracted services, leasing vehicles, I mean, a whole host of other things. So 60% of our budget can go to these sorts of things. And I think that's a really good indicator.
How does Ventura deliver any services?
It was pretty amazing. It really was, yeah. Ventura's up over 70%. Now we rank against our closest friends is that we are close to the bottom, which some of these tables it's good to be on top, some of these tables it's good to be on the bottom. We're close to the lowest. So I think that's something to be proud of.
That's also indicative of the contract model too.
Yes. Yeah. All right, retirement and health care costs per every dollar of wage that's paid to employees. So you can see statewide, we're pretty close to in the middle, and we are at 37 cents for every dollar of wage. So you're really going to be paying $1.37 if you're including all of the wage, retirement, and health care costs. So, and that's not out of line. You look at Merced; they're paying 69 cents for every dollar, which is extremely high. But here again, yeah, I guess they're the highest in that case. Kern County is right underneath.
Yeah.
There, Fresno is on the high end. So,
John, remember when we were talking about joining their health plan?
Yes, sir.
You see what happened to them?
Yeah, they
got nailed this year. They have jacked their price up so high. I'm so glad that you guys, decided we shouldn't do that.
Well, it was worth exploring. I mean, we should always explore
options. Yeah, it was worth exploring because it was saving money at the time.
Yes.
Yeah. But who knows when something like this happens because, I mean, theirs exploded.
Sure.
And now their employees are paying.
And employees are paying more. Anytime, budget team, please chime in. But I think it was this last year, they had to, the agencies that were in there had to put in millions of dollars to kind of replenish the pool in addition to rates going up. And so, yeah, it was a good thing we didn't go in that direction.
We really researched that, though.
We did.
Big time.
Okay, so here's how we compare to our closest comps. Right in the middle. Good. It would be interesting to do a comparison to, private business. maybe down the road we can come up with an example. I'd like to be curious to how we might compare to Valley Children's Hospital or one of the bigger employers.
On your percentage, the one that you showed earlier, that's dead on in private business.
Okay.
I mean, that's what that was 10 years ago at Georgia Pacific.
Okay. I would guess that somewhere in the 20 cents is probably comparable on this chart to private business, but you guys are businessmen and probably know better than me.
That is, I mean, to look at that, there is a reason why there can be talent brought into the public sector. It's when there is, they usually see it on the benefit side is better, and they may get paid less in a salary, but their benefits are better, and so I think that is kind of in line with where it'll probably be lower on the private sector side, but they might get paid more in the private sector side. Right. I think that's kind of where it evens out. There's more security, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, our next category is, now this is something to be very proud of, and this has started with your board, and it's happened over time, a long period of time, but it's expenditures for debt as a percentage of the total annual budget, and you can see statewide we are in a really good shape. We're down on the very low end of this is where we want to be. We're at 0.8% of our total annual budget goes towards paying debt service, and that's
we have an
very
A+
low.
rating with Standard & Poor's.
That's correct.
Is that like for the loan we have on the building here and stuff?
Yes, the loan we have on the building.
Funny. One time I was talking to some of the supervisors from Fresno County because they have that shipbuilding, that they said, "How do you guys do this?" And I said, "Good management." Because they don't understand how we've got all of our, then I talked to them about all the other new stuff we've got, all over the county and what we're proposing, and they can't believe it. Buddy really can't.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, or can I?
Yeah.
It's interesting, and that is very outstanding number. I mean, I haven't. That is pretty good. Congratulations to about the half on down on that. But we've already figured in for the budget for all the new facility on our
social service building,
all that stuff, and the debt that's going to be involved in that. We've figured all that out already, Eric. And where will we be standing when all that comes to fruition?
We're working on that right now. It's going through schematic design,
yeah.
And costs are getting finalized a little more.
Because that's a big project.
That will be coming on, yes.
Okay,
that's correct.
Thank you.
But the way that's structured, from what we're told, it's not likely going to have an impact on our debt capacity.
Right, because look at all the money they've saved themselves.
The way you've kept the employment, to where it is, and the benefits and stuff, the benefit package, they should just roll over. They should be really close to that number. So It's great.
So comparing us to our neighbors, you can brag to these guys when you see them at CSAC, but we're at the bottom of this list, which is the best place to be.
Yeah.
All right. Next is expenditures for general government as a percentage of total annual budget. And we're lumped together here on this one with a number of other rural counties, all the light blue right there, kind of towards that higher end. And the reason being is that you're going to need a county administrator, a county council, HR, IT auditor in every county. And you're going to need one of those. But when you got a big county, that cost goes down. So in the smaller county, your cost for general government is going to be higher because you have to have the same group of people. Right. So as you can see, when you compare it to our neighbors, it's exactly that. You've got us in Kings County are very close. I'm glad we're under them. We're almost dead on.
Yeah, the larger the county, the
population, and then larger the county down to Fresno. They've got the same need in their general government to make the county work, and it only amounts to 2.5%. And Kevin's probably got more.
We just we're looking at some other things. One of the biggest thing I think is the overstaffing of the county administrator. Oh no, that's sorry. I'm sorry.
You can tell he's going pretty soon. He's retiring soon. He can say whatever he wants to now.
It's really what has an impact on it is the classification of general government. And I know in Fresno County they have information technology, some of the facilities maintenance, insurance, and some of their debt proceeds. payments are in internal service funds, so they are included in a different function than general government. So I'm sure some of these counties have those in internal service funds as well. So
it's kind of interesting. You compare this with the we only have 2 cities, like you were saying earlier. You compare this with just 2 cities compared to Merced's 6 cities, or
Right.
Tulare, I don't know how many cities, in
17.
Fresno. I mean,
We should be the highest on this list based
we
on
should be,
what we do
even
in terms of service. Yeah.
Interesting. Very good.
Okay. Next is, let's see, we've got expenditures for health, mental health, and substance abuse as a percentage of the total annual budget. We are on the lower end. Depends on how you look at it. Some might look at that as a positive, some might not. But we are grouped together with a number of other rural counties, which are pretty much about the same, kind of on the lower end of that graph. 13.1%. And here's how we compare to our neighbors. So, all right. And the next category.
This one bothers me.
That's really amazing.
Now, this is the one thing out of all this that is a bit embarrassing. But I think we ended up here because that was one of the first places we needed to cut when we fell into the fiscal crisis, was here, animal services, and those, less critical services. But we can make up some ground here. We're almost at the bottom. We need to be up, towards the middle. Here's how we compare to our neighbors. Fresno County, though, has a dedicated tax measure for their libraries, so they do generate more and spend more for their libraries. But we need to improve in this category, and so we'll be working with the librarian, and probably for the next fiscal year budget, we'll look at to see what we can do there.
Well, you're working with the arts. You're working with, all this stuff that the committee's been working on with the arts and all that stuff, and looking over here and with the old library. I think we recognize that, and you're right. We're working on it. So.
Well, another category here is recreation, parks and recreation. It's something that I know your board wants to do more of, but we don't really have. We've got a grounds maintenance department, but that probably needs to grow into a parks and recreation department.
Very good.
Okay. All right, and then the next one is expenditure for public protection as a percentage, total budget, and here we're right in the middle, consistent with your board's priority. We always make that a funding recommendation when we have additional discretionary dollars, and we're nearly at the top of the list compared to our neighbors on this as well. So I think we're doing well there.
Funny, Kings is way up there, you know it?
Yeah, Kings.
Amador.
Yeah. Okay, and this one here again, different people will look at this in a different way. We are, when you look statewide, we're above the midway point. We're kind of on the higher end, but I think that's just reflective of, the population maybe in the Central Valley. Maybe there's more neediness here. That's a word. When you look at us compared to our neighbors, we're by far the lowest in terms of what we spend on public assistance compared to those around us. So I think that's interesting because we're sandwiched between these people, and we're well below. So I don't know. I guess you can make your own assumptions on that, but from my perspective, I think that's a good thing.
We have high unemployment, and there needs to be some help there. But it looks like we're spending it wisely, at least.
And then lastly, we're expenditures for roads, facilities, and sanitation as a percentage of the total annual budget, and we're on the higher end there, and that's a good thing. But here again, all that light blue, those are the rural counties, and chances are they're doing a lot more of these services for their residents. And I think we do as well because we have a higher percentage in the unincorporated area.
That's going to cost us more because we only have 2 cities, and we're trying to do a whole county acreage area.
That's correct.
Square foot.
But we are a self-help county. We have a tax measure and all of that. So with that...
I wonder if on that self-help county, I think, there's only 17 or 20 or something that has that. I wonder if most of them are rural counties.
That is a good question. I don't,
because they're all up there, you see, on that, so.
I think Merced passed theirs too, and Stanislaus
Just now.
Yeah.
Right. See, there wasn't very many before, so, but they, all the bigger counties in LA and all them started trying to change that rule, you remember last year, a law saying that they should still get those same benefits as we do, but they did kill that, so. Good. They'll probably try again this year. Great report.
And here's how we compare. We're well above our neighbors on what we spend on these things.
What's not really nice about this report, Eric, we didn't put it together.
Nope.
And CSAC 58 counties put it together. And it's just absolutely amazing. If you'd had that, I wish that chart would have been in 2012 and see what it would look like in 2012. I don't think it would be very pretty. But this board and our organization, the county, the people that we've hired, the new heads of staff that we have, they have one direction, and from you and from this board. And, couldn't have had a better, there is some areas that we need to improve, like you said, but couldn't have had a better year and all the things that we've done and everything that we look at. And Kevin, man, your department and boy, you got some big shoes to fill, my friend. But
you're ready, right?
I think, big boots, yeah. And but I just want to again, I really appreciate all of the old heads of the departments that we still have, and the new heads of the departments that blended in so well, and the whole county family blending in together for that report. My God, outstanding. So, boy.
I've got to say thank you to the board, because you're the ones that make the hard decisions. You've had some tough issues in front of you. You've made hard fiscal conservative decisions, and that's why we're where we're at.
That's politically correct to say, Kevin, but you're only as good as the people that's reporting to you. And I'm telling you, this group, this Madera County group, I've learned to appreciate every single department and everything that we do in those areas that we have to manage. Just outstanding.
We have a great team. We do.
I think it reflects well on everybody concerned. It's a good report card for what we do. It says we're doing the job, both policy-wise and on the ground. And I think it just is a great report card for us. If you were to grade somebody on their performance, this would be the performance evaluation for the County of Madera as a whole, and for this board and the organization together. So I say that it's a very, very well done report card, and we didn't put it out, so it's not, we're not tooting our own horn here. It is just very, very good, and I'd love to see some of the people who complain about what we do all the time brag a little bit about what has been put forth here, because this is evidence that we're doing the job, we're doing it right, we're doing it more work with less than we ever have before, and you can't argue with these figures. You can gripe and complain, but I dare say that other counties are having a more difficult time doing the same thing than we are, and we are keeping up with the times and doing it well.
I'm guessing some counties aren't going to share this with their board.
I don't think they'll show it to their board. Yeah.
I would say you're probably right.
Well, thank you. Anybody else?
I took this to my team meeting last Friday, and they all wanted copies of it right then, so they could go around and tell people.
Amazing. Outstanding report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody from the audience like to say anything? Okay, thank you. Great presentation. I think that the way we did that, and the way from Yoder, and when you're making a budget in the future and stuff like that, we now can see what 109 did to us. We now can see what 57 did to us. It's going to be interesting. The dope bill, I'm sorry, but it's pretty dopey. And then and the rural counties, again, I want to make sure that everybody knows the rural counties got outvoted on that big time from the L.A. counties and the San Francisco counties. But what we're faced on when these propositions are passed for the big counties and the populated areas, what it does to the rural counties. I mean, the most important thing that I think we're on is one of the boards is the air quality board, so we don't get stuff shoved down us, and RCRC, because there's 38 rural counties involved in that, and if we don't stick together, we're dead. So, anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, 6F.
6F, County Administration Department, discussion and consideration of entering into a joint defense agreement with Calmat Company, doing business as Vulcan Materials Company, Western Division, and Calmat Company, Incorporated, and authorizing William Abbott to sign the agreement.
Hello, Chairman and members of the board. Regina Garza, your county counsel. This item relates to two lawsuits that have been filed related to the Austin Quarry project. On September 12th, this board granted various approvals to develop a mining project, the Austin Quarry project. Since that decision, two lawsuits have been filed, one by the Madera Oversight Coalition and the other by Shimmick Construction, also the Madera Quarry. They're both plaintiffs in the case. So in both cases, Vulcan is a real party in interest, and pursuant to an indemnity agreement previously entered between Vulcan and the county, Vulcan and the county will work together to litigate the defense against these lawsuits. In these types of lawsuits, it's not unusual for the parties to enter into a joint defense agreement that essentially protects the confidentiality between Vulcan's attorney and our attorney, who is Abbott and Kinderman LLP. It protects their communications and complies with some legal obligations we have as attorneys. And so before you today is a request to agree to enter into this joint defense agreement with Vulcan's attorneys and allow our lead attorney, William Abbott, to sign it on your behalf. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Bring it back to the board.
I move we approve item 6F.
Okay. Second? Dave? Okay. Motion to approve. Tom first.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yep.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6G. Gentlemen.
6G, County Administration Department, General Services Division, and Corrections Department. Discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution of acceptance of potential award for SB 1022, Adult Local Criminal Justice Facilities Construction Financing Program Funds for construction and renovation of the county jail.
Good morning again, Mike Gonzalez, VOC. Push. Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay, this we're asking for the consideration and approval of resolution to accept monies that was made available to us by BSCC. This is money that we originally applied for in August of 2013, but we're not selected at that time. On October of 2016, we were notified by BSCC that monies became available in the amount of about $15 million.
Move to approve.
That was relinquished by Lake County, who was not able to participate in construction utilizing this money. So it became available to us, and we'd asked that you approve the consideration for resolution to accept the funds so that we continue on with the improvements needed at your county jail facility, and that we can progress into the future with our future needs. This is at perfect timing when we came to the board and asking for additional monies for the hardening of that facility. We can do so at this time utilizing state money. We can also prepare the consideration and work into collaboration with probation to prepare particularly two specific dorm units who was kind of like our headache trying to get hardened. And this is specific in this bill that we applied in 2013 to do. So work in collaboration with probation, we can utilize this by renovation of those two areas, and perimeters for programming, more jail space, and public safety, so that we ask that you give consideration and approval to take advantage of this money that has been made available to us.
I have a real fast question and some other stuff that eventually, is there's going to be a 5% match on this later on or now?
Now, there's a later on in we're at the very beginning of this. All we need to do at this point is notify BSCC that we will be in a position to take advantage of this, and then that will all be coming in at a later date to see how the county intends to do the matching. I think it's 5% at this time. 5% matching.
Yeah, well, I think we may have an option where there may be a potential that the match could get funded out of the Community Corrections Partnership. I don't know that for sure. I don't want to speak for the chairman of that committee, but so there may be a possibility.
Said yes, but
yeah. So it may not come out of the general fund.
Okay.
And ours was reduced down to 5%, our match, from 10% in prior grants because we requested it, because we're a small county, a rural county. And I think if you want to tie this back to the successes of the team, this is the sort of thing that these are a pain, but this gets us up to around $50 million, or probably just over $50 million now in total of state funds. But it is a hassle to go through the process of reimbursement and all the hoops you have to jump through. A lot of counties just throw their hands up and they don't want to deal with it. And staff don't want to deal with it. So those dollars have to come from somewhere. So, we've got a team that goes after these dollars, even if it's hard, and it takes the burden off the county general fund. So often it's capital projects that your board doesn't have to fund.
Well, Mike, you're completely wrong on this, because you shouldn't need more of jail, because Prop 47 and Prop 57 is supposed to kick everybody out of prison.
That should be.
You don't need this
that
money.
Should probably be a sidebar discussion.
What's going on? I know juvenile hall has gone down, and I know it's gone down. So when we reverse Prop 57 and 47, you'll need that space, right?
Under 47, we just got an individual sentence of 21 years to our local facility. So so we're still. I was discussing that with the CAO. We're still getting the residual effects of 47. That hasn't even
pretty soon. How many more people will this add to our corrections?
It's going to be hard for 57.
No. I'm not talking about for this project. It's going to be a bigger prison, right? Bigger jail. I might as well call it a prison now.
We won't know the answer to that until actually the 17th of this month. We're going to be sitting down with an assessment team to look at the entire scope of the project, so that we get the best. And I hate to use this term, but we get the best bang for our buck, and we make sure that it's not only MCDC that's going to benefit from this, but it's going to be the probation department that benefits from this with regards to program space. So the 17th, a lot of things are happening here. We have a meeting set up with the folks that are going to be doing our assessment needs for this, because that's one of the requirements under this new money that's going to be allotted, that we do a recent assessment, so we're going to be doing that as well. And Rick will be a part of that team, sitting down as well as Maria's office there to see what we need and what's going to actually happen. So after we do that, I would be better to answer that question.
Yeah, because, just like what we did before, we had it on the agenda, and then we didn't have any correction. And so, correction officers, or they were going to the state because we weren't paying them enough or whatever. But, we need to, when we get these things, we need to actually look at salaries too. When we get these things, that's part of it. So I know that's not. But, anyway,
Mr. Chairman, I think
fantastic.
This project, it actually adds the programming piece, which is going to help us do everything we can to try to rehabilitate people and get them out. Now.
I know.
So this kind of closes the loop. This is the last piece of it.
Yeah.
And I think if it works as planned,
it's
hopefully we can reduce the jail population.
And I must add that I recently attended the Central California Jail Managers Association meeting last week, and those counties are at awe on how this county can actually do the results or obtain the results that we do. And it's because of this collaboration that the CAO just mentioned, is because we're willing to do that collaboration. We're willing to use outside agencies to make this work. And that's the key component. So I think this is, timing could not be better for this.
I've really enjoyed going to the graduations and seeing that, like I said, when I first came on, basically you go out there and I call it dead eyes, and you look around and everybody was like, and when you go to those classes, you see a spark there. Our issue is get those guys jobs once they finish, so they don't get back out in the public and say, well, gee, I don't have a job, I got to get back in jail or something. But our rehabilitation program is wow.
Yeah,
I mean, it's state known.
Some aren't going to want the help, but the ones that do, that's the one.
You can see you can see the difference in those the ones you guys key pick too. I want to mention that it's not just anybody that wants to come in there and get out of work or whatever. I mean, you guys actually evaluate the ones that are in those classes, and just an absolutely
Thank you
great
for the
job.
compliment. I'll pass that on to staff because they do an excellent job in doing
It
that.
uses the term outcome-based.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's applicable in this case.
And it all boils around staff. They do an excellent job.
You have a motion of you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, anybody from the public first? Nope. Bring back the board. Brett has a first. Tom has a second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Excellent. Great. I would ask the possibility if we can get and I don't know how the system will work, but how we can get a signed resolution to us. Like I said, two things are happening November 17th. We're having a meeting here with the assessment team, and then Chief Perez is actually in Sacramento attending CSSA. He's going to cut away from that November 17th to appear in front of BSCC to give them the resolution, present the resolution, and letter of intent. So
She just said
kind of
yes.
a lot of
She
things.
just said yes. So
A lot of things.
Okay.
If I may, just briefly. BSCC is only considering 2 counties. So the first county, it's a partial award to bring them up to what they originally requested for $6 million. All the rest would go to the county. So 15, we're the only 2 counties in the running, so our chances are phenomenal.
Wow.
They're just asking that we give them that resolution stating we're interested in the money still. And then upon board approval from BSCC, we'll get our formal letter of award.
Great. Rhonda, can you have that ready by the time we get back from lunch, if you can ask?
The resolution's ready for your signature, so.
Okay,
we
thank
need
you.
that.
Okay, 6H. Lunch? Oh. Which one? 6H.
6H.
Did I jump one? Nope.
Community and Economic Development Department and Fire Department. Reorganization of staff of Madera County Fire and Community and Economic Development Departments. 1, discussion and consideration of approval for the following budget adjustments, positions, reallocations between the Building and Fire Prevention Divisions within the Department of Community and Economic Development and the Madera County Fire Department, and direct the Human Resources Operations Division of County Administration to make the necessary amendments to the county's position allocation. Eliminate 1 administrative assistant position from the Madera County Fire Department. Add 1 administrative assistant position to the Building Division of the Department of C&ED. Eliminate 1 program assistant 1/2 or permit technician position from the Building Division of Department of C&ED. Add 1 program assistant 1 or 2 or permit technician position to the Fire Prevention Division of Department of C&ED. 2, discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Madera County Fire Department to utilize the allocated extra help funding to hire the part-time office assistant that is currently assigned to the Fire Prevention Division of the Department of C&ED.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Matt Traber, Community Economic Development. Here with you. I'd like to thank Adrian and the CAO as well for their assistance in getting this put together. And I worked with Matt Watson and Chief Serber as well on this item. We came together looking at ways to better serve the front counter and the public as they're coming in, which led us to this kind of reorganization. One of the keys is there's no increase general fund budgetary dollars that are going into this, right? There's not an increase in expenditures overall for that. It's simply moving those monies between departments and divisions. And, you know, we're excited this will be effective if the board does approve. We'd have it effective December 1st with the staffing changes. And I'm available for any questions that you have.
That's a good idea. Nothing from the board? Anything from the public? Back to the board.
Move to approve.
Okay, I'll give it to Max this time.
I'll take
Okay,
second.
Max in a second with Brett. Max first, Brett second. Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 4 in favor, 1 absent.
Tom. Okay, 6I.
Then we'll finish the rest of this meeting.
6I, Fire Department. Discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution authorizing a regional application for assistance to firefighters grant with Madera County Fire as the lead agency.
Is it on?
Oh, there we go. Okay. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for hearing me. Mike Serber, Battalion Chief, Madera County Fire. This item here is about the submittal for application for the AFG grant. It is for replacement of equipment. We have decided to go in as a regional grant application, which would include Madera City, Chowchilla City, which by doing so, that brings our percentage down to 10% from a 20% match, which greatly reduces for the amount we're putting in for. The equipment we're going after is our SCBAs, which is our breathing apparatus that all of our personnel have to wear during any fires that we get into. The current life expectancy on these is right around 5 to 7 years. The ones we currently have were purchased, the first series were purchased in 2005, and the NFPA has since then put out compliancy on them in 2013, so you can see that most of ours are out of compliance anyways. We're putting in for $1,044,000. The match on our side, because of it being proportion between the three entities, would be about 86. But the grant would probably come due for our side in next year's fiscal budget.
But we're going to have to, that's a budget item we're going to have to spend anyway. It's
correct. We're looking at right now, and we've already been working on this. We've attached some dollars to the State Homeland Security Grant Program through the Sheriff's Department. And just because of the cost, we're looking at $5 to $7, depending on vendors, anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 per unit. So we're looking at right around between 185 to 200 of these units.
So will that will replace all of them?
Throughout the entire county.
Perfect.
Correct. Any questions for me?
No.
I move to approve. Second.
Any comment from the public? Bring it back to the board. First and second. We got a first from Dave, a second from Brett. Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
We'll go to 6J and then go to lunch.
Is that pretty competitive?
6J, Sheriff Coroner's Department Tree Mortality Hazard. 1, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 16-153 in the amount of $2,255,700 derived from Sheriff Tree Mortality General Fund fund balance and California Disaster Assistance Act funding. 2, temporary salaries and professional and specialized services for hazardous tree mortality mitigation project area. 4 votes required. 2, discussion and consideration of approval to issue a request for proposal for the selection of tree mitigation project forester. 3, discussion and consideration of approval to issue RFP for the selection of tree mitigation contractor for the areas identified in the Madera Tree Death Plan.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Jay Varney, Madera County Sheriff. In May, your board approved the Sheriff's Office applying for what was a grant through the federal government through Cal OES. At that time, the board approved reserving approximately $563,000. It was almost $564,000 should we be granted that grant. That process has gone through all of its attempts at approval, and no county in California had their grant approved and moved over to FEMA for funding. So we're coming back to the board today in regards to a funding opportunity through the California Disaster Assistance Act. This is a reimbursement grant. It's 75% borne by the state, 25% borne by the county. We are asking the board, though, that they would appropriate the entire $2.255 million for this, only because this is a more or less a first-come, first-served grant, meaning if you approve both items here, or all of the items on the agenda related to this, We'll have to get a forester out in the field to bark the trees. The OES has already approved our projects, so we don't have to redo the projects. We can use the same projects from the HGMP, but we do have to do an RFP for a forester, and then we'll, on the heels of that, be doing an RFP for someone to cut the trees down. And then as we accumulate costs, we submit the costs just like we do right now for the drought assistance grant that the board approved. The only difference is with this one, there is a 25% match. And I believe at this time there's somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million approved for this, and there's about 10 counties that are going after this funding. I don't know if you have any questions regarding that, but it's obviously for the tree mortality. You've got in your area right now, you've got PG&E doing a pretty good job as far as we can tell, trying to secure their lines. You have Caltrans working above Oakhurst going into the national park. And you've also had the Sierra remove some trees, Sierra National Forest, as well as get some NEPA work done on other areas of their forest so they can continue working. And so to date, we've probably removed in the neighborhood of 60 to 70,000 trees. And if you've been up to Oakhurst, you notice that they've got a pretty large chipper operation going there right across from the CHP and below our office. And they're moving as fast as they can. But this money would be used primarily to secure county infrastructure, so that would be in the area along our roads, so that the road department can. This would augment what the road department's doing because we're going to use a private contractor, and also around county facilities, and then it would branch out to other public facilities from there.
Paul?
Yeah, I know you guys. You went and we all appreciated that. You passed the last one to put up $563,000 out of our general budget to be the matching cost. And this is actually the same amount that it costs us if we get the whole amount of money used. And the other one was a grant up front that we had to pay 0.25%. This one, the money's there, so we got to bill it all the time, so the money be going out. And I think everybody talked to Eric and Kevin. Kevin's not here, but that we can do this, and it's a little more riskier, but we're already on top of it. Our road department stuff is right on top of this. We just got to hire a forester because right now we're using Lynn Nielsen's authority as a forester with our road department guys to do the marking, and he just approves them. But this is a little more serious, so so we'll have our own forester doing this. And some of the, like Tuolumne and all of them, they've put millions in theirs. They've got a full-time forester, they got full-time people cutting and everything. We don't do that. We're just using our road department. And we got to keep on top of this. I mean, the trees are already starting to fall. There's been just a little bit of wind we had 2 weeks ago from that storm. Right. Tops of trees are already coming out. And if we don't have these trees out of there, it's going to be a disaster. And Joey back there has been on top of it. Jay, thank you for having him. He helped write that first grant, and he is really working his tail off. And they both come to our tree mortality meeting we have every month for the county. And everybody comes to that, CAL FIRE, Caltrans, and they're finding out the same thing. They put $5 million up to just do 49 and Highway 41. They figured it'd be close to almost $10 million by the time they get done when they cut in the day. What did he say the other day? 60,000 or 6,000 or 2,000, 20,000 trees. It was just on 41 from Yosemite down to Oakhurst. And they've cut a bunch of them. They're already, what they marked and cut and contracted out, it's already doubled. Right. So this is one of our steps that's we really need this for our citizens up in the mountains.
Max?
Folks, we don't have a choice here. We have a catastrophe up there in the mountains, and we have to follow suit. We have to do what we can to. We're not going to eliminate this problem. If we're trying to just do what we can to keep the trees from falling down and hurting people, protect the public, clearing the roads. It's bad up there. So we have no choice. We have to do it. Jay, what are we doing with the logs, the whole logs that we're cutting down?
Max, I'm not in charge of that part, so I don't know what we're doing with all those.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
What are we doing, Tom?
We're taking all the county ones that we're cutting, we're taking over to mill site. And we're working on the contract right now with, what's Bioenergy down here? Company's name? In Fresno? gosh darn it.
Yeah, we know.
But they're making a contract now to chip them and haul them down there.
You
And
mean the big logs, you're chipping them up?
yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we're chipping all the big logs. I wish you guys could have I should have taken some pictures of the log deck that they put on Highway 49 on those big flat areas they put, for the commercial. They had that completely full, 30 feet high of logs. 2 weeks ago I was there. We had that meeting last Wednesday, and 90% of them are gone. They've chipped that whole thing, and they got piles of chip bigger than 10 times bigger than this room. And they're hauling them all down to Rio Bravo down in Fresno, buying them all. And those chippers, that's how they do it, those big logs. You can't believe it, Max. But they have that big thing, and they got a big loader, excavator, putting those logs in, and they got a truck with a big trailer on the back, covered trailer, that shoots the chips in there, and they haul them right out.
We can't sell the logs?
Well, they are selling some. PG&E's working on it. The ones we can sell is private land logs. Anything out of the Forest Service, unless they chip them or something, we can't ship them out of the country. So they're taking loads of logs.
We have to change that law, it's not...
I know, they're taking loads of logs right now to Stockton. I mean,
We have to
there's
change
lots
that
of
federal law.
That is so ridiculous, too, that federal law. I mean, that was,
They got exemption.
that was when the spotted
McClintock-
owl was and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
McClintock
We couldn't
passed
ship
a-
anything overseas.
Yeah, I've got them to do exemption for a short period of time right now. They're trying to make it longer.
Good.
So,
Is McClintock working on that for you?
yeah, he is. He's right on top of it, I'll tell you. And everybody agrees with him. That's really neat, both sides, because they know this is not going away.
I was really happy to see the North Fork Cooperation open up the other day near groundbreaking. That was good.
And we should have that biomass plant running by, early spring.
Good. I'd like to see it.
You could expand that, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out to the public?
To burn for a while.
Back to the board.
I move we approve.
Second.
You want?
Okay. Got a first by Tom, second by Max.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor...
Yes. So it's your turn to vote.
Oh, yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Oh, yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for putting it together. Okay, well, we'll break for lunch. Be back at 1:30.
I'm sorry?
30. Okay, I'm sorry.
We did, yeah.
Okay.
This is the NFL hat.
Okay, back in session. Let's go to 6K.
6K, Public Works Department, Capital Improvement Projects Division. Second hearing to consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 10.35 of the Madera County Code to establish a recommended speed limit on Road 417.
Good morning. Or afternoon, huh?
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter with Public Works. Ahmad Al-Kayat next to me. This item is second hearing for establishing a 25-mile-per-hour zone on Road 417, just east of State Route 41, approximately 600-foot segment. And that is being proposed as part of the Dollar General development that was approved to be installed at the corner of 417 and 41. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions?
I just want to make a statement again. I think it's very important on that first. How far? It goes about a mile, though, doesn't it, for the first speed limit? You changed two of them.
Yeah, the change to the ordinance it involves two parts. Right now, the speed limit from 41 all the way to the end, basically to the end of Indian Lakes, is 40 miles per hour. So this would change that first 600 feet would be a 25-mile-per-hour zone, and then beyond that would stay 40.
It would stay 40.
So it just changes the limits.
So was it 40 before?
Yes.
Oh, it was. I thought it was something more than that. Okay. Well, they had that bad wreck. I mean, they had a lot of them. That's where Joe Alberta wrecked, and then this 18-year-old boy did. He's still in a coma down here, 2 or 3 weeks now. So it's a good thing. Maybe we ought to lower the rest of it 35 or something. So anyway, I move that we approve that.
Okay. Second. Anything from the public? Okay, we have a first from Tom, second from Max.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6L.
6L, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Public Works Department, Municipal Services Division. Comprehensive rate study of all county-operated water and wastewater districts. 1, consideration entering into an agreement with Bartle Wells Associates in the amount of $260,480 for a comprehensive rate study and capital needs analysis of each county-operated community water and wastewater system. 2, consideration of approval to authorize the Public Works Director to issue the notice to proceed. 3, consideration of approval to authorize the Auditor-Controller to issue payments for contingencies up to 10% of the contract amount for established county policy. 4, consideration of approval to authorize the Public Works Director to solely issue and approve contract change orders in accordance with Public Contract Code not to exceed authorized contingencies. 5, consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 16-151 in the amount of $260,480 derived from special districts as special districts administrative overhead to professional and specialized services for fiscal year 2016-2017. 4 votes required.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Philip Toller with your Public Works Department. The county is currently tasked with meeting various state and federal regulations in regards to the operations of 30 community water systems and 16 wastewater systems. Some of these systems have outlived their life expectancy, and many have not had rate adjustments, periodic or otherwise. Consequently, some of the rates have remained unchanged for years with no increases for inflation or system needs. As you already know, the aging of the infrastructure, impacts of an unprecedented drought, changing regulations, increased energy costs, and stagnant rates, the general fund has been subsidizing many of these districts. At your direction, Public Works solicited a request for qualifications for comprehensive rate studies and capital needs analysis of all county-operated water and wastewater districts. Each firm was reviewed and graded based on their experience and understanding of the county's request. Bartle Wells Associates was found to have the best understanding of our needs. Approval of this item today will execute a contract with Bartle Wells to begin the rate studies and see them all the way through the Prop 218 election processes. Thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Brett?
Yes, I can't tell you how happy to see this I am for all of them. Since coming on, and these are, I know, Tom will, and David will definitely back this. These are, and Max with Parkwood. These are the biggest headaches we have, and it's because we don't have the money to do the things that need to be done and get the infrastructure to the places that it needs to be. And so I'm so excited that this is here and that we're looking at all of them and not just piecemealing it and just taking the ones that are the loudest, the ones that are the easiest. This is taking all of them. It's easy to go to the ones that say, hey, we want to do a rate increase. Cool, we'll go and help you with that. But this way, we're actually going to look at all of them and what the impact has been to the general fund. I know that we have problems now with the auditor even letting us use money to backfill these, and they're getting worse. I know in mine there's PG&E bills that are, 8 months behind? That can't happen. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then when we look at our special districts budget at the end of the year, during budget time, and everything magically balances to zero exactly. I mean, and I know that's and I wish I would have gone back and said no to that, not because the work hadn't been done by all of us, but it's kind of a protest vote that says, just because we have to do it doesn't mean that this is a correct budget. And so I'm excited to actually look at what is happening now. There's some that are in line. There are some that are way out of line. I know that some of the ones that we've looked at in my district, because it's been so long since it had happened, if they're 100% upside down on it, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to fix this problem overnight. And so I think when we're talking to them, looking at gradual increases over time, every year it goes up 10% or 20% versus it going up 100 to 150% in 1 year, because we're not going to pass those 2018 elections. So that'd be something I'd want to see if that's even available in some of these things. I know we have to start planning out, but we also need to pass these, or else we'll just be stuck in the same situation that we were before. So I don't think we're going to get out of it overnight, but this is a huge step to fixing this problem that has plagued us for years and years. I know that I've only been on here for 2 decades. I know I've only been on here for 2 years, and if it's made me lose this much hair, see that? Then I can only imagine what it's done to everybody else.
What it's from.
Yeah. So
I used to look like Harry Frampton.
Yeah. So
when you were born?
So I want to see if there's a way to gradually increase it as it goes, so that we have a higher likelihood of passing the 2018 elections. I don't know if that's...
Supervisor Frazier, thank you. Ahmad with Public Works. Yes, we will run all these scenarios, and depending also in each district, how we would like to try to assure a passage of Prop 218. If a gradual increase is what is most communicated within a certain community, definitely we will entertain
we can't
that.
guarantee nothing like that, because some of them might be so drastically upside down.
Absolutely.
They might not have no choice.
Well, the main
we
point,
might not have no choice.
Correct. The main point here is we need to basically get off the general fund subsidizing our district the best way possible, and the soonest, of course.
Absolutely.
So each district will be unique in that study, depending on the need and that it carries.
Yeah, but I think we'll finally get it where we can understand where they're at and where they need to go. And through this, I could see there being some consolidations, us being able to really get a better understanding of what these actually cost versus what our budgets say they cost. Because, if you just have to make it balance to that, so we're just going to plug in some numbers here and, maybe they work, maybe they don't, and then I have to go back and say, no, that's not a real number. Well, you approved it, and it was, this is what was presented, so how is that not a real number? So I'm excited about this. No, that being said, I'm excited about it, but there's going to be a lot of political blowback on this. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very, very upset. But we have to understand. I hope this firm is very good at explaining how they got there and what it's going to mean to the people long term.
Community outreach is part of the scope of work, so we will take all this into consideration. And some people will be upset, and also some people will be really happy.
Yes.
Looking for happy.
Yeah.
Tom? Yeah, just a little history. Max and I inherited this too, because in 2001, the board ordered something just like this, and it never happened. So when I got on board, that first budget we had, we were $400,000, whatever they said in the red. Actually, it was probably a lot more than that. So that's when we started doing a couple, 3 a year, reevaluating them, studying them, and getting this thing. But 1 or 2 or 3 a year just wasn't. Here we are now. We got how many districts you're going to do now. We're still not even close to what we had. And talking to Todd Miller, he called me one evening. He says, "You really want to know the numbers that's really going to be out there when we get done?" I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "What do you think the other board members?" I said, "They want to know those numbers too."
We need to know.
I said, "We got to have those numbers." And he said, "Well, you're going to be shocked." I said, "Get them to us. I don't care. It'll make no difference. We got to get it."
Unless we're shocked, nothing is going to happen.
Right. Well, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I can't even tell you what this means to me as a supervisor 10 years later, that we're actually going to maybe get them all some answers we can give these poor people. And the other thing is, you guys got it. I don't know if you other members got it, the letter from 22A asking to let them be separate from this. I don't want to do that because I think it'll screw up the whole thing, but we've got to this point. But I want to request that we put, if they're picking a few they're doing before some of the other ones is maybe not so bad, put them up front if they can so we can get an answer for them sooner maybe. It's the biggest one. It's the one that's the most organized of all our districts that we have in the county. And so if we can move them up some way on that.
Sure, Supervisor. We're prioritizing our districts. We have some districts in dire situations. Right. Some are in emergency situations. Once we finish or prioritize what's necessary today, then we can, of course, move up and down the ladder. They're on our mind.
So, I've been in so many meetings there.
Correct.
That
they are very
involved. I can't count how many different staff members we've had since I've been on the board that went to those meetings. Yeah. And for 8 years, every meeting they'd have a different number for us. We got $1 million in reserve. Oh, we only got $800,000. No, we got $8 in reserve. I tell you, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to go to them because when somebody shows them a stupid ass number like that.
Because you're the only person that's the same, that's there every time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the only thing. So they've been on top of it. You know that, Norm, and I appreciate what one of the staff members told me, that you told somebody you wanted them every meeting, and that's important. That is, and that our WMG too. It's really important.
Supervisor, the way we'll do that, and yes, that's a part of one of the, just like you said, the 10 years and the several years I've been here, something we've been wanting to do is we monthly send our management, most of the people at the table and others go to Oakhurst first Wednesday of every month to meet with a lot of groups, including this committee. First, so there's the have-tos and the have-to-get-dones, but when it comes to what you're talking about, and let me just say to any supervisors and any other community members out there, the groups that are the most organized will go through quicker. Right? It has to do with everything in this world. So MD22 being organized, yes, when we go to groups and we have someone like Fairmead or someone like MD22 or a recognized group, we go to them and they say they're ready. In a month, you're working. You go to another place where there isn't a group, a month or 45 days later, you're still working about who you need to talk to.
Phil knows that firsthand because every time
Phil
somebody calls
knows that well.
And says, "Well, what do you guys got together to do anything?" Nothing.
And so
No, nada.
the way that'll work, we'll go do an outreach to all these different groups, right? It'll come back and it'll sort of take on different tracks. The groups that are ready to go, we'll start going, and the groups that still need to get maybe organized. And a part of this process that'll be helpful is some of these communities will start to organize themselves a little bit, because they see the county coming in with this process.
Right.
So yeah, what we will do is, as we put the word out, the groups that are the most organized and ready to go will go the quickest. Yes.
Thank you.
As far as studies, I welcome these studies so we can get the proper information, which we haven't had in the past. But then the real problem will be when we get those results, what we do with it. Because Parkwood, it was, just to go out there and listen to the people, try to tell them the truth, and yes, people just don't listen. So we have, as a board, we have to have a backbone to follow up on what we're trying to do. Otherwise, we're going to look like a bunch of fools.
And amateurs still.
Well, not amateurs, but people that just can't fulfill their obligation.
Well, it's amateurs when we cannot give the people a legitimate answer.
Yeah.
I mean, it absolutely is. I mean, I've been to so many of these meetings, and what was the guy before you, Phil? What was his name?
There was Steve Norman and Wayne Singleton.
Yeah, Steve, and Wayne too. Before that, I forgot about that. But I go to these meetings with these homeowners, and then every time have a different number for them. It's so embarrassing. I can't even tell you, and that's amateurs. That's what I look at. We're professionals. We got the best professionals in the world, and I think we got the best in the state with our staff. But
by the time you put that information out there, most people don't want to understand or don't want to believe either.
We can.
So we have to convince them.
I couldn't back them that before, Matt. No, we can now.
It's exactly what it's the follow through. I think what Supervisor Rodriguez is in referring to, and the follow through is very important to try to get there. The other thing we've done, and we better keep doing, because I'm talking to my staff, is before we go out with a sets of numbers, the conversation between us and the auditor needs to happen. And we're talking about telephone conversations, right? Hey, I'm looking at this number. Hey, no, so confirming those numbers, and Todd and I talk about it regularly. Todd and I talk regularly, right? Because we're supposed to. Yeah. Up and down the line throughout the staff, you should be talking to your contemporaries in the auditor's office or the treasurer's office or these other offices. And I've impressed upon that hey, just because you, again, garbage in, garbage out. You ask a computer a question, you ask it the wrong question, you're going to get the wrong answer. So let's make sure we're asking the right question, and we're working with the auditor's staff. And that's been probably not something that's happened enough over the years, is that we don't confirm. They're the accountants for the county.
I know, but they couldn't give us an answer. That was a lot of the problem. When you got as far as the problem as much as it was their problem.
Yeah, so
they couldn't give us an answer.
And part of that was
anything else? Max, did you have anything else?
Brett? And part of that problem was that the accounting methods, because of you had to have that hard zero, hard balance, that when they dipped into red, it was on a separate spreadsheet,
right?
Called a keeper. Those are keepers. Hopefully we get some of them off every once in a while. And so, how are we able to get those good numbers? So now I think we'll be able to have a better understanding of that. I want to throw out Rolling Hills. They're organized. They're ready to go. Let's get them going quickly. And then, as overall scope of this project, about how long do they think that they'll? How many districts exactly are they doing, and how long do they think it'll take?
Pull the schedule out. There's a schedule in the proposal, and I'm going to talk a little bit while he's pulling that out. It's a thing we do to try to keep things a little stalling. I want to say it's sometime before the middle of next year. I looked at it yesterday, actually, but I didn't commit it to memory. So there's a schedule.
And Max is completely correct. Every study is a good study if we use it. And the actual implementation is where it becomes tricky. So that's why we have to foresee some of the issues coming forward. And I know that gradual increase is going to be easier for people to swallow. Some may be less gradual than others. But it's that implementing it and getting it into a schedule where we can get to the right.
Whether you guys are doing that, why don't you just make up a schedule for us and send it to us emails?
It's actually in your backup. It's in your backup.
I just realized it's in the packet.
Yeah,
it's in the back. It's in the back.
Page 15 of the proposal.
Okay.
It's actually it is. We have a proposed project. It is the middle of what, next year?
Middle of next year, they should be able to gather most of the data and move on with the community out.
I just wanted that on the record is all.
So hopefully it'll be a good year next year. I'm just going to say 2017 will be a good year as far as this is concerned.
It's going to be a great year.
It'll be a great year because nobody wants to remember 2016.
What I said this morning, and what Tom was just saying, and what Brett was just saying this morning, I really meant about the people that we have working in the county now and the head of staff and stuff like that. And when I first came on, Marcia Hall got her hands spanked because she found $465,000 in back fees and everything else, and since 1995. And so it was very interesting. And Manuel, give him some credit that he started working on consolidation and stuff and trying to figure stuff out. And he was talking to the past staff. And I think it's a great time to be a county supervisor with people like you on our staff that are very concerned and trying to do the right thing. And I appreciate and I applaud you. I think Brett said the magic word, consolidation. Boy, if you could start consolidating all these special districts and stuff, I mean, the people have to realize that instead of a $200 bill, they're going to have a $120 bill. If there's, instead of 200 people on a special district, there's 2,000 people on a special district. And what a perfect time to do it as you're building our new subdivision out there by Valley Children's and all that subdivision stuff. So, David?
Yeah, I think along with this, there's a portion of our special districts that just need an education on the reality, a reality check that part of home ownership is these utilities that everybody has. Now, in my case, I live on a piece of property. I develop my own well. I develop my own septic. Not a cheap proposition. I just drilled a new well, $23,000 for my new well.
You guys
and that's the average price. That's the average price out there right now for drilling a well. And, and the thing is that a lot of people don't want to pay for the services they're receiving. Well, that's just not part of the program. And so, along with the education of the reality check, we need to continue to implement and utilize the penalties and fees and the disconnects, and all of those things have to be done for people who just are unwilling to pay their bills. We cannot subsidize that. This is not a circumstance that we can do that.
Public funds.
Yeah, we can't do it. It's a misuse of dollars and misallocation. So
yeah, Rick, LAFCO, every year we're supposed to do a study on all the districts and stuff, and I've been involved with 3 of them now, and every one of them we've tried to consolidate. You guys have been there. The people they're just not educated enough to know what that means, because we have not had one of them yet wanting to consolidate even 2 districts together, much less a consortium of 5 or 10 or something. They don't get it.
We had people that were upset about bringing in Valley Teen Ranch, a home for 20 young boys that just use a minimal amount of water, and they were coming with a free well. Yeah, $5 million from the state for free, and that was
big
still
well,
that was
not just a little bit of drops.
Yeah, that was tough to get people to understand that.
I think it comes with time and it comes with trust, and with gentlemen like we have here that don't bullshit and tell them the truth, and I think that you'll see it move on, and I'm happy to be part of the board that hired all these or approved the hiring of all of our good heads of staff and stuff. I mean, we had, I won't mention names, but Tom did, guys like that just smoke and mirrors, and how does the public trust them? And for years, how many years you worked there? And we're building, I think you're building such a trust out there that eventually this will break down. LAFCO, part of the LAFCO, not making the city of Madera put Parkwood and Parksdale in the sphere of influence or in the city. That should have been done years ago when they started building,
working on that right now,
out
too.
Parkwood.
That's a directive. They know it.
Yeah, they know it's coming. But I mean, that should have been when they built that Shell station out there, 1 mile away from that part. That's under LAFCO rules. That Parkwood should have been in the. And then when they built the school out there, I mean, what opportunity? I mean, anyway,
That's history.
Right. That's history.
The word trust is the big thing. And how do you build trust when every single time you go to them, it's a different number, right? The only thing that they can trust is that you don't know what you're talking about. and so, I think now going forward, I think I'd like to move that we approve.
Well, let's, anybody from the public? And then, nobody? Come back to the board. You want a motion approved? Second? Okay, we got a first from Brett, second from Tom. Appropriate?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
All right.
That was appropriate.
Well, very
since
good.
and I got
you.
the most.
We got the district. I'm sorry, you got the first.
Yeah, I got 120. You got the other 40.
Give it up, district. Yeah, no kidding. 6M.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Now the real work comes.
Keep it going, Phil. Yeah, now the
6M, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District Number 43, Miami Creek Knolls, Public Works Department, Municipal Services Division. Consideration of entering into an amendment to Madera County Contract Number 10272A-C-2016 with Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group to increase contract from $500,000 to $611,000 for additional professional engineering services.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter with Madera County Public Works, with Ahmad Al-Kayat here. This item is for an amendment to the contract with Pros and Pritchard for services related to MD-43 Water System Improvement Project. The original contract was put in place originally for design services, and then eventually was added to for the construction management services. So this change is to cover additional costs related to extension of the project to get it completed. We had to extend the contract days by about 75 working days due to delays related to design and also weather.
Any question from the board?
Yeah. I had two things. I mean, to jump up $111,000, what kind of changes were made and what were they? I mean, to change that much for the consulting, I mean, it had to be some big major changes.
Right. So there's quite a few changes and revisions and things that had to be reviewed as the project went along for various things like relocation of pipelines, issues that we ran into in the field where, certain circumstances required a design change to get around rock or different things like that.
What kind of money are they talking on the project? How much did it rise?
I don't have the exact amount as far as the increase on the construction cost. Right now, the total estimated cost for the construction is about $2.6 million.
And that includes those changes?
Yes.
So $100,000 will be there.
Change orders.
All
change orders. We had this basically on a consent calendar in our agenda meeting. We brought this because I wanted the public to hear this. And thank you for explaining it, but still, I agree with you.
Well, I know there's things that come up, but
but I mean, change orders. If the project is done correctly, you don't have that many change orders. But anyway, I mean, it happens. It happens. Any other comments from the board? To the public? Back to the board.
I move we approve 6M.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a first from Tom, second from Brett.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Huh?
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
I know
guys.
Julian's been waiting for this all day long. Number 8.
Chairman, members of the board, that was recorded as a yes, right, Supervisor Wheeler? Your vote?
Yes, hon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Here, here, Regina.
Okay, let's
She's
go to
earning
8.
her keep.
Let's go to 8.
Find that $100,000 bill there, you know.
8, Board of Supervisors Department, discussion and consideration of approval to send the county's comments to the State Water Resource Control Board opposing the proposed Phase 1 revised draft substitute environmental document for the SWRCB's Bay Delta Plan.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. Julia from the Department of Water and Natural Resources. You have in front of you a proposed letter of opposition to the new substitute environmental document that came out in relation to the Bay Delta Plan. The Bay Delta Plan is revised about every 3 years, and it addresses water flow requirements and salinity in the Delta. We are not directly affected by this at this time because this affects the tributaries that come out of Merced County. However, this is the San Joaquin River, and as we keep taking more water for environmental purposes, we use more water from the ground, and we're all trying to comply with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, in addition to the fact that we have many, many disadvantaged communities in our county and in other counties up and down the Central Valley. So this letter is for your review and for your signature if you'd like to weigh in and express your discontent with taking, at a minimum, 40% more water out of the Merced area to the San Joaquin River for environmental purposes.
Still the San Joaquin River that they've got that settlement that is plumb stupid.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that there's a direct nexus between the loss of water in the north and then the loss of water in the south.
Flows down.
And the northern contractors have 1913 rights, which they exchange to, as long as their supply is met by northern water, they don't make their claim on the San Joaquin. Well, when they lose that, they make their claim on the San Joaquin, and we lose. And our area loses big time. So it's just unconscionable to think that we would lose, that they would lose the supply from the Merced, Tuolumne, and the San Joaquin to basically eliminate our supply.
That's exactly what will happen.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. So we need to vehemently oppose this.
Thanks, David. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think David hit it right on the head. Anything that gets affected up there, it will ultimately affect us just because
Absolutely.
Of who's calling off of those other waters. And my brother farms up in Stanislaus, so on his behalf, I also oppose this.
Anybody from the public?
Thumbs up.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for working on that.
Could I have a vote, please? It's for approval.
Okay.
I'll move to
I need a
approve.
first and a second.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay. David first, Tom second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Here.
And that's a yes vote. Supervisor Rodriguez?
No.
It's a no vote. Yes, it's a yes vote.
You vote no?
You know, I vote no for the reason that, yes, we can use the water. We can use the water, people, but as long as we have water, it's more planning, more planning, more planning. But we have to use the word that I used before, moratorium, to stop this planting over and over. When we don't have the water to continue to plant, now they want to reverse the river, send the water up, and what's going to happen? The growers are going to plant more and more and more. Now they want a dam up here, temperance dam. They're not willing to pay for it. And then I understand they want a dam up there by Sacramento, another dam. So the idea is if we were to get that water and say status quo the way it is now, it would be fine. But if it continue, as long as the growers and the investors have water, they'll continue to plant and plant and plant, disregarding the communities all over those farms, ranches, and this is what I see is wrong here. It's greed. It's greed. It's a dollar bill that they're after. They don't care about the common people.
Well, if I could, since we're talking about this further, this will not. This is going to directly impact every grower, whether they have a small farm, a farm in existence. Not only growers, this is going to affect residents. It's going to affect residential cities. Everything in this region will be affected by the taking of the water. This is taking 40% of the water from the Merced and Tuolumne. Means we're going to lose our allocation in the south because the contractors in the north will take it. It'll be taken. So it has nothing to do with the proliferation of ag being developed on a grazing land. I think that's reached its peak. This has to do with survival as far as subsidence, as far as the continued existence in this region. If we lose that, if they lose that allocation, we lose an equal amount in the south. I would say that you could stick the fork in. We'll lose our cities. We'll lose the value of our land. Everything is contingent on the existence of water. Everything. We'll lose the value of our land. Your place will be worth nothing if you cannot provide water to live on it. The houses you live in this city will be worth nothing if the city cannot provide water. What happens to the point at which the city can no longer pump water out of the ground? That's where we're headed with this kind of a proposal. They're taking more and more water for no reason.
This will force the farmers into the ground.
This exacerbates the problem. It doesn't help it.
Yeah, and you're right, Brett. It takes more water out of the ground than it does from the surface. So this is basically giving us some more surface water to put into the ground for everybody. And the other thing too, you're talking about the farmers and stuff like that. Well, I think we just had 3 presentations this morning that shows that if it wasn't for the farmers in Madera County, we wouldn't even have an economy. Every single one of those on this list were either packers or whatever. And it doesn't seem, that's how come I pushed on Bobby a little bit about why can't we get a apple or a dill or whatever. Well, of course he couldn't answer that, but it's because of the California economy and what we've done to the business people in California on all the bills and everything that they can't even build a new factory in this state anymore. That's why you see everybody buying everybody out. Even the farmers are buying each other out because you can't grow anymore in this state as a company or even a small company. So anyway,
one last comment. This plan, this Bay Delta plan, literally plays into the hands of the NRDC and their plan to eliminate farming in the Central Valley to the point of 2 million acres. It literally plays into that into their hands.
So anyway, back to this. Since we have a 4-0 vote, we cannot have the chairman sign it.
They actually didn't finish the roll call.
What's that?
We didn't finish the roll call vote.
Okay.
Can we start it over?
County Council, can we start over?
You can start over if that's the desire of the board.
Please.
Go ahead.
And let me just add one thing. Your board rules are silent with regards to how you handle legislative letters.
What's unanimous? It's a motion, right?
Well,
it's a different thing.
No, you have had a practice in the past of sometimes needing unanimous approval to submit this type of letter, but it's not actually in your rules, and I've heard it's just been kind of a practice. So your actual rules say that it's a majority approval of an item, and here you can also decide that if the majority of the board votes yes, then the letter will go, or you can do something like amend the letter and just point out that one supervisor voted no, or just clarify it and say the majority of the board is submitting this letter, something like that. So there's nothing set in your actual rules that governs this. It's something that you can decide here
It was just something that we did.
on how to handle. Right, and I wasn't around to hear a lot of that policy, but I understand that that is how the practice has been.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over with the vote again. We still have the two, and then just go over the vote again.
All right. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
No.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote.
I would like to move for instruction to staff. I'd like to move that we submit the letter as signed by the chairman from the board, as we would ordinarily.
Second. With the explanation in that one voted no?
We don't have to put any explanation in. I'm not qualifying.
So I don't believe the current letter states that it was unanimous vote.
Well, we don't have to do that.
She just said we
She said we don't have to do that.
No, but I'm saying the letter, I believe the letter that's in your packet currently, County Council, I believe it'll be okay as written because it doesn't say that the board as a whole.
That's the desire of the board, is to keep it as is.
Right. So that's my motion.
You don't have to do that.
Don't need a motion then.
Because
Oh, we don't have to do it then?
It's as it was.
Okay. We do?
That's fine. You don't need
So
to-
again, you just need the vote because it's agendized to approve. So that's why I had to do a roll
So
call
it'd be just
vote
like, okay, yeah, it'd be just like.
as
doing
opposed to
anything
a
else. Okay.
consensus,
I get you.
yes.
Okay. Okie
I get you.
dokie.
Thank you.
Okay. So approved, correct? Approved, correct. Okay. Okay. 9. Any other legislation? Okay. 9.
I got one.
Supervisors and staff report? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Your legislation.
I wanted to thank whoever did it, our new furniture out in the lobby. If you guys know, who noticed it? Do you notice it? Do you notice it, Rick?
I did notice it. I was watching it when it was being brought in.
Oh, it was, huh? I walked in, I said, what the heck, man? Somebody sold all that ugly stuff.
Furniture. That go nice in my house. Oh.
Got to get some benefit.
Yep. Brett?
Yeah, I just need to report that I went to the San Joaquin River Conservancy, and then also I attended the first annual Madera's Got Talent as a judge, like I had said with Ginger here. I urge everybody to come next year to the South Campus. I had no idea how much talent was out there.
These kids nowadays.
I mean, it was astounding. I mean, I thought it was going to be like the talent shows that used to happen when I was a kid, and just anybody that gets up and lip syncs and does whatever. These kids were so insanely talented. One kid that took third place in the 7th through 12th grade, he was playing the piano. He laid on his back, put his legs over and then his arms were like that, and still played the piano from his back with no. I mean, it was. I don't know. I just was. I couldn't even bend that far. But I was just so proud of these kids, just for the courage to get up and do it. And then on top of that, the amount of talent that was there just made me very proud of the kids in this area. So I would urge people to come next year. It was a lot more fun than I expected. I thought it was going to be a long night. Yeah. And it was, but it was a fun long night. So
next, okay.
Yeah, I'll be headed to Sacramento to lobby with the State Water Commission on the Temperate Flat Dam. And also, I'm sorry, my mic wasn't on. I'll be going to Sacramento tomorrow to lobby for Temperance Flat Dam with the Water Commission and for their rules and what have you. Then I'm headed to CSAC in 2 weeks, so for CSAC conference.
CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is probably the most important item of the day. I just wanted to make you aware.
If you drink that stuff, growing stuff,
go ahead.
Good for your esophagus.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we are making progress on the county's coffee and snack shop area, and as someone just noted, the new furniture was the first step in the process. Joined here with Maria Miranda, our General Services Manager, and Darren Klein, our Capital Projects Manager. And so your board had selected the County Grind as the name of our coffee shop, and so now we've designed the logo, and slowly we'll unveil some things. That project is slipped a little bit. but to no fault of our own. We just need to get some plumbing out there to it, and it's going to take a little while. And we're trying to coordinate that then with the upgrade to the sound system in here, because some of the infrastructure has to go through the back of the room.
So if you're going to cut open the hole, might as well do two things at once.
Yeah, so we're coordinating together, and probably, I don't know, springtime of 2017 or a little after that, we hope to be done out here. Yeah.
Is this going to be the sign, Eric?
Yeah, that'll be the new logo.
Yeah, looks good.
And it'll
Better Rogers grind.
I'm always grinding anyway.
The green in the cup will tie into the Starbucks green. So what it'll say, it'll be the county grind, and then it'll be below, it'll be we proudly serve Starbucks.
Hey, you know, after the dope proposition passed, we should put another key out on the outside and have Buds Bud. Buds Buds.
Could be a moneymaker.
Buds Buds.
Could be a moneymaker.
The county kind.
It's legal. Might as well sell it here, too, and make the money.
Buds Buds.
Yes, it will. It'll be visible. We'll have T-shirts. We'll sell mugs. We'll sell hats. I don't know. We could.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, there was a question about where the signage will be?
What signs will we display and where?
Well, Starbucks is very particular on where signage can and cannot be placed. In fact, down to the point that we had to name our own kiosk with its own unique name that doesn't have Starbucks in it. So we're allowed to say we proudly serve Starbucks, and we are only allowed to have directional signage showing that where that Starbucks coffee can be purchased. So it's pretty specific on what we can and cannot do. So we're still trying to explore that to a greater level of detail, but everything has to be passed through Starbucks, and they have to review all our signage.
Starbucks has more red tape
sizes,
than the
colors.
I don't think we need one outside. I think we just leave it inside, personally.
It'll be interesting with Starbucks.
They have drive-through. Next thing you know, they'll bring the golf cart right through the middle here.
You got two big doors.
Yeah, drive right through.
Roll up doors and go for it.
Just briefly, Mr. Chairman, if I may. In addition to the new lobby seating, we're also going to have high-low pub seating. So for the public that can come in and sit, have a little extra seating that's included in the Starbucks kiosk project. So a little more furniture to come, a little closer to the actual install of the kiosk itself.
But yeah, can we have Mexican bread also?
That's a good idea.
For who?
Fun.
For who?
For who?
Yeah.
We're actually still working through the menu choices. The coffee that they're going to offer is pretty specific to what Starbucks offers, but it's going to be Aramark Foods. So they're going to have prepackaged sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, muffins, fresh fruit, and we're kind of working on some other things just to liven it up a bit for the county staff and public.
Or two.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it? Anything else? Anything more to report? Thank you. Okay. The only thing I have is I really want to thank Max for stepping up for me the other day and doing that groundbreaking ceremony. That's a good friend of mine's factory.
You know what? I really enjoyed it, and these people are from Tranquility.
Yeah.
And they started with nothing, and they said they had an idea, and it blossomed from there.
Yeah. Wow. People don't know that they came from actually. Remember Going Nuts? He was the supervisor at Going, the plant manager now. He was the supervisor at Going Nuts. Grant. Yeah, Grant. Wow. He was supervisor. I've known Grant for a long time. I used to sell him boxes.
Is that right?
And but anyway, they moved over to my Newark plant over there where Foodie is, and so they're gonna remain open at that plant and then build that new plant that you went to. And I really appreciate you going because I had the veterans kickoff.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, thanks. And then I went to lunch. I mean, you weren't there, but
no, I didn't.
Yeah, I went to lunch and thanked Grant.
They're going to hire approximately 40 people.
Yeah, 40 people. 40 people. Those damn farmers. Anyway.
No water.
No water. Oh, yeah? You don't think that takes water to process those almonds? Okay. Well, and then anyway, but I just wanted to thank you for that. And regular meeting adjourned. Let's go back to closed session. Thank you. shouldn't have said anything like I normally do. Just go to closed session.